All right, good evening, everyone. All right. Okay, so we're about to begin. I just want to go over a couple of items. Number one, the mayor and the council member are about to enter the room. What we're going to do is we're going to hear from some of our special guests, and then we will hear from the mayor and then take some questions. If anyone has a question, then you should raise your hand. And then one of the mic runners raise your hand. They're going to come over, bring a microphone to you so you can ask your question. If at the end of the evening your question is not asked, everyone should have received a white card. You should fill out the card, and we'll make sure you get an answer via email, mail, or phone call. Also, we have a lot of information outside on after-school programs, on universal pre-K, on Screen Dree, and other great services that the city is offering. So please make sure you get information on your way out. And with that, we're going to begin in a couple of seconds. Yeah. All right, good evening, Bronx. It's good to be home. I'd like to introduce your Councilmember Rafael Salamanca. And of course, your mayor, Bill de Blasio. So let's start off by asking Nicholas Morales to come up and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much, Nicholas. So first up, I'd like to invite our public advocate, Tish James, to give some brief greetings.
Good evening, everyone. It's an honor and a privilege to be here with our mayor and Councilmember Salamanca, who is doing a fabulous job in the city council. Give it up. He's the newest city council member, and let me report to you as the public advocate, because I preside over the city council, and if ever you can't sleep at night, watch us on public television. He has produced more affordable housing. A round of applause. Come on. And a lot of people define affordable housing in so many ways. Affordable housing for people who actually live in the Bronx. Two, he led a wonderful, wonderful town hall meeting on drug abuse and opioids in his district, the problem with that, and so I really want to thank him. He joined with NYPD. We want to thank NYPD for all that they are doing as well. And then lastly, he joined with me in a tour of some of the worst landlords in his district, and I thank him for that, addressing the issues and the conditions of individuals who are living in terrible conditions. And so, Councilmember Salamanca is my hero, and you were blessed to have elected him as your city council member. And of course, the mayor of the city of New York. The mayor of the city of New York is doing so much on mental illness. We've got to, again, applaud the mayor for all that he is doing. The mayor, yes. And universal pre-K, he has done amazing things in the city of New York. I'm the public advocate of the city of New York. My job is to make sure there's checks and balances on the mayor and as well as the city council, but I can report to you that they are doing a fine job. And I just wanted to come out and to let you know. And as a result of that, I want to thank Councilmember Salamanca, because I came all the way from City Hall. I didn't have lunch, didn't have breakfast, and he graciously has provided me with dinner. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Public Advocate. Next up, your state senator, the Reverend Ruben Diaz Sr.
Mr. Mayor, welcome to the 32nd Senatorial District, the best district in the whole city of New York. Rafael, gracias. Gracias, Rafael. Tú eres bueno, Rafael. Tú eres bueno. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Mayor, let me tell you something. You see those guys over there? Chief Nukin, Inspector Pichardo, 43rd Precinct, Matarazzo, they're the best. All the Bronx, the best, okay? Always remember them, the best. So, ladies and gentlemen, amigos, amigas, en esta noche tenemos, mira para allá qué besito lindo. Tiren beso para acá, no se preocupen. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we have the mayor of the city of New York in the 32nd Senatorial District, thanks to Rafael Salamanca. This guy, since he got elected, Mr. Mayor, this guy has been the best. Listen to him, he's good. Listen to, and to Luis Sepúlveda too, listen to Luis Sepúlveda, listen to him. So, ladies and gentlemen, good night, thank you very much, good night.
Thank you, Senator. Next up, I'd like to invite Assembly Member and County Leader Marcos Crespo.
Thank you. I too want to welcome the mayor to our district, to Councilman Salamanca, to all of the agency, the commissioners, the departments that are here, to the NYPD. Thank you for responding to this call and to this interaction with the community. How many times, how many of you have said, how come we don't get a chance to tell them what we think? Well, the mayor's giving you that chance tonight and allowing you an opportunity to ask the questions directly. And I know he's committed to being here as long as it takes to answer to those questions. But understand something. As elected officials, oftentimes what happens is that there's a misunderstanding and a misexpectation on what exactly we can do and how we can deliver. We're guilty of that too, because come campaign season, we like to tell you all the things we're going to try to do. One of the things that we try to do in this community is keep things real, keep them honest, and explain if something is out of reach, how we can achieve the end result that we all want. What do we want in this room? We want opportunities for our kids. The mayor responded to that challenge by expanding universal pre-K to all 3-year-olds in this, it's 4-year-olds in this city. When we talk about mental health and health services and we see the issues that are happening in this community, it's been this mayor and his wife who have stood up and promoted more services and mental health response in our schools and in the community. When we talk about community health care, we have seen this administration respond. There's a lot of things that people know about. But for example, did you know that our commute into the city is longer, even though we're closer to Midtown and Lower Manhattan than other neighborhoods, because of our subway system? And it's been this administration that has moved forward 20 years of discussions about ferry service. Or did you know that when we talk about our parks, we have been to more ribbon cuttings and more improvements in our park system? And I know we have Commissioner Edith Rodriguez-Rosa here as well. We have done so much to improve infrastructure. That's not to say that everything is done. And I know that this administration and this mayor has made a commitment, working with one of the hardest working men in government. For all of us who knew Rafael when he was a district manager, we knew that he was the right choice to lead us in the city council. And he's proven that every single day with so many great work. So thank you for this opportunity. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And to the community, don't miss this chance to ask all the tough questions. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we've been joined by the assembly member from the neighborhood right next door, Luis Sepúlveda.
It happens to be the assembly district where his mother lives. I want to thank everyone for coming here tonight. I represent the 87th Assembly District. I want to thank Rafael Salamanca, who in a very short period has demonstrated his amazing leadership skills. I've worked with many elected officials, Senator Diaz, Senator Crespo, and in such a short time period, Rafael, you've done a fantastic job. He's working with me on one of the poorest schools that we have in West Farms and getting a better school for them. He's donating, contributing a lot of money because the city council has a lot of money, so I don't mind piggybacking off of him. But he shares, that's correct. Rafael, in my years of politics, of my 5 years as an elected official in the Assembly in the 87th, I've never had a city council person call me and say, we have money to deliver, how do you want to deliver it? And so that's a big testament to him. So I think he deserves a big round of applause for the great work he's doing. I want to thank the men in blue. Thank you for the service, for taking care of our communities. Yes. I said last week, and I'll be quick, we had an incident where a civilian, there was a death with a civilian in our community in the 4-3 precinct, and I was astounded because in 35 years in this business, I've never heard a commissioner or a mayor admit that the system failed the victim. I tell my community I'm blessed to have Deputy Inspector Pichardo as the commanding officer of the 43rd Precinct because he represents what I believe every commanding officer of the precinct should be, and that is community first, and I want to thank you for the great job that you do. Mayor de Blasio is a great friend of mine. I was one of the first or one of the early people to endorse him when he ran for mayor, and when we sat to discuss him running for mayor, there's several things that he mentions. Now, many times individuals, when they're running for office, will say, but at the end of the day, they will not deliver. And everything that he talked to me about, he delivered. To me, universal pre-K, in the years after neither one of us are here anymore, he will be considered a transformative mayor, if not for that alone. Many of our kids now are getting an early education, and that's demonstrated that the kids that do that tend to do better, go to college, and graduate. Mayor, I want to thank you for that. There were also discussions about Armageddon and the crime rate. Remember those discussions at the beginning? Well, city crime rate continues to drop, and we are safer, if anything, than we ever have been in the history of New York City. And to that, I want to thank the police department and the mayor. Mayor, I want to thank you for the great work you and your wife have done on mental health. You know, I keep mentioning my particular history of mental health. My mother suffered from mental health. She committed suicide when I was 11 years old. And I believe that if we had the kind of programs that the First Lady and the Mayor have created, my mother would probably be alive today back then. So I want to thank you for the great work that you do. I know the press sometimes doesn't treat you fairly, but those of us that are in government, we understand how difficult your job is, and we understand that you are doing a fantastic job, and I want to thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Rafael.
Before we hear from our council member, I'd like to acknowledge our co-sponsors for this evening, Bronx Community Boards 1, 2, 3, and 6. Over here, let's hear it from us. Very good. See you. Urban Health Plan, Nos Quedamos, SEPCO, The Point. Yeah, great. And our host for this evening, the Police Athletic League. So now I'd like to turn over to our moderator and host for this evening, your council member, Rafael Salamanca.
Good evening, everyone. Buenas noches. I don't know about you, but I am pumped. I've been pumped all day, Mr. Mayor. I've started very early at 8 in the morning reading some books to some toddlers. From there, we went to, we had our press conference for Spofford. There, we went to City Hall for a stated meeting. After that, we met with the borough president on working on some bills for homelessness, and we're here today. I am really excited to have you all here. Welcome to the 17th Council District. So, as many as you know, I was district manager for Bronx Community Board 2, covering the Hunts Point and Longwood community for about 5.5 years. And in 5.5 years, we had an exciting time working with the board in terms of addressing issues of public safety, addressing issues of businesses that are a nuisance to our community, addressing affordable housing, ensuring that developers, when they come here, we hold them accountable in terms of making sure that housing is truly affordable for us and that the jobs, the construction jobs, they're hiring locally and hiring local contractors where they can get the supplies. We've also done some work in terms of the schools, to be fair, public schools and charter schools, and ensure that our kids in our community have access to these schools. I've been council member for the last 7 months, and I have been having the time of my life. And I want to thank you all for the opportunity to serve you in City Hall. In that time in City Hall, one of the most important things that I mentioned to everyone as an elected official is the budget. Ensuring that you can bring those resources into your community. And when I came into City Hall, it was budget time. And so I had to get into my grind, ensure that I was in City Hall all the time to ensure that we bring that money, those dollars, to our council district. And I'm proud to say that I was able to bring in $17 million in capital funds for this council district, which is awesome. With that $17 million, we were able to allocate funds for schools, senior housing, senior centers, health facility, parks, public safety for parks, and affordable housing. We were also able to secure after-school programs, summer youth programs, youth activities, senior programs, anti-poverty programs, and clean NYC programs to ensure that our streets are safe and clean. Now, something else that I was able to do while I've been in city councils, something that the city council has power over is land use matters. Ensuring that we do the proper rezoning that's the right fit for our community. And best of all, ensuring that the housing stock that we bring into this community is affordable for all. Just recently, I was able to approve a project, La Central in Melrose, 992 units. When I came in, I stopped that project briefly to ensure that there was adequate housing for low-income families, and there was also adequate housing for the working family. So we're talking about the lowest of the AMIs to pretty high AMI, and you should be very proud of that because now we have an opportunity to have access to these units. There's also different amenities that are coming in. We're gonna get a YMCA that's coming in, something that we've never had in South Bronx. And we're also gonna have BronxNet who's coming in. I was also able to preserve over 200 units of senior housing. Seniors who their kitchens and their bathrooms were gone, needed repairs. And I was able to work with HPD, approving Article 11, and as we speak today, over 200 senior houses in Carmen Parson and on Longwood Avenue are being redone, and the seniors do not need to be displaced. So I'm very proud of that as well. And finally, something that's very dear to me, Mr. Mayor, is my NYCHA developments. As you know, I have the third largest NYCHA development portfolio in the city of New York. We're talking about Jackson houses, Melrose, Adam houses, Bronx Chester, and the list goes on. And for Adam houses, we have a gift for you. I've been working closely with the mayor. I heard your cries. You wanted to redo your basketball courts there, and I got a commitment from the mayor's office that they're allocating $500,000 to redo your basketball courts in the Adam houses. So with that said, you know, I've been in this community for 36 years, my entire life. In my entire life, I've never heard that a mayor has come to the South Bronx to hold a town hall meeting. So, Mr. Mayor, I thank you for coming down here to listen to the concerns of my constituents. And with that, please give our Mayor, Bill de Blasio, a big round of applause.
Good evening, everybody. It's such a pleasure to be with you tonight, and it is a special pleasure because everyone in this room cares about this community and does something about it. You're here on a rainy night. There were lots of other places you could be, but you're here because you care so deeply. And you have, I know in so many cases of people in this room, years and years of commitment and involvement in the community. I want to thank you. I want to thank you. That is how communities get better. And I want to talk about, in a moment, your councilman who, in just 7 months, has really shown himself to be a person of extraordinary ability. But I'm going to hold the, you can clap for that, but I'm going to first make a couple other acknowledgments before I talk about him and before I say a few words to you, and then I look forward. What the vast majority of this evening is your comments, your questions. First of all, let's thank all the sponsors this evening who made this possible and who reached out to the whole community. Give them all a round of applause. Let's thank the young man who led us in the pledge, Nicholas Morales. Thank you. Nicholas is better dressed than the councilman or I. He's got that dashing yellow shirt. Very nice. Our public advocate, thank you. She does keep an eye on the government for all of us. Thank you. We got three gentlemen who every year go on a very dangerous mission. They go to Albany, New York to seek justice for the city of New York. That is not easy. That is not easy. Now, I can assure you, when Senator Reverend Ruben Diaz Sr. stands up for his district, his voice is heard in Albany. He makes sure of it. And thank you for advocating for the people of your district. I knew Assemblymember Marcos Crespo before he was the county leader. I knew him even before he was an assembly member. And when I met him long ago, I could tell this was a young man going to great things, and he's already fulfilling that promise. And he is one of the absolutely crucial allies that we have in Albany protecting the interests of the city. So he does a lot for his district, but he also protects the whole city of New York. Let's thank him for all he does. I want to thank my friend, Assemblymember Luis Sepulveda. We go back a long way, but I want to thank you also, not only for what you do for us in Albany, and many times I have called upon you to protect the city's interests, but what you just said at the end there. You in your own life, just like Charlene and I in our life, you experienced the pain of a family member lost in a mental health challenge, and for you it was such a tough, tough journey. But I can tell you one thing, if your mother were still alive today, she would be so proud of you. Congratulations. I always like to tell, when we've had town hall meetings in different neighborhoods, I like to tell people about these wonderful people here, the leaders of the NYPD we have here, the commissioners of different agencies. Now, this group here represents the leadership of most of the city agencies that have an impact on your life every single day. Every single day. Right here is collected so many of the people who can help make your life better, who can help address the issues that you care about. Now, they come here, they work all day, and then they come to a town hall meeting, and they do a whole lot of stuff like this all over the city. A very hardworking, committed group of people. But on this very special evening, when we have a town hall meeting, I always say, this is a special opportunity for you. We're going to do the meeting, but at the end of the meeting, you can come over and talk to any one of them about any issue. For example, are there people here from NYCHA? Are there people here who live in NYCHA buildings? Okay. Michael, stand up, Michael. Okay. Now, here, for example, is the general manager for the entire New York City Housing Authority. Or, let me just, by a show of hands, who has trash collected at their home or their apartment building? Who has trash collected? Trash collected, great. Catherine, stand up. Here, for example, is the sanitation commissioner for New York City, okay? So, these are examples of the wonderful, powerful people and public servants who are here tonight. There are many, many agencies represented. Their leaders are here. If at the end of the meeting you have an issue you want to discuss, a suggestion, a problem, a challenge, they're right here. You just have to walk up to them. It's a democracy. All you have to do is walk up to them. And they want to talk to you so much, they will stay as long as it takes. They will be here all night because they have nothing better to do than be here to hang out with you, okay? So they are happy to do it. They are happy to do it. Now, the council member. So I'm telling you this, I have had the blessing of being a public servant for a long time. 7 months I've seen him in this work. I don't know how Rafael Salamanca is doing it, but he has the maturity and the understanding of his district and how to get things done for his district. As someone who's been at it a long, long time, he has instantly gained the respect, not only of me, but my entire administration. And Rafael, I think you deserve this acknowledgement in front of your constituents, because you have really done something amazing already. And sometimes we have people represent us in life and we say they don't really understand. You know, you hear sometimes a leader say something, you feel like they don't understand your life or your community. Well, I think it's hard to say that in Rafael's case because you grew up how far from this exact building? Down the block from this building. So I think we can safely say that Councilmember Rafael Salamanca has lived a life for the community. giving back to the community. And what a beautiful thing when someone who is of and by and for the community reaches this point of leadership. So this is something to celebrate, and I'm glad that we work together to bring some good news this evening already to our friends who have been waiting for some real support. We're going to try and get a lot of other things done tonight in the course of this town hall meeting because we try and give you real answers whenever we can. But I want you to know this council member has hit the ground running for you, and he's making a very big impact. Thank you. Now I want to say a few things, very quick. I'm going to make it very much about the communities represented here this evening. Look, this city is going through an affordable housing crisis like we've never experienced before. And I think everyone feels it, everyone knows it, but I want to remind everyone, we have never seen anything like this in all our lives. I think if you had described 20 years ago a city where all over the place the price of housing was going up, going up, going up, and people were worried about being displaced from their own neighborhoods, I would have said, well, we've never had anything like that in the history of New York City. It's here now. The answer to this challenge is to protect the affordable housing we have, very, very intensely protect the housing authority. And I want to state very clearly, we will never allow the housing authority to be privatized. We will support and protect public housing for the long haul in this city. That's over 400,000 New Yorkers who live in public housing. We have over 2 million New Yorkers who have rent-stabilized apartments. And I'm very proud to say that my administration now for 2 years running has had a rent freeze for those rent-stabilized apartments. We have people all over the city who have been faced with harassment by bad landlords. They haven't gotten heat or hot water. They've been told that the rent is higher than it's legally allowed to be charged. They've been faced with illegal eviction. We, in the last couple of years, have been providing more and more people with a lawyer to defend their interests. Today in New York City, and I want to thank the City Council, has supported us every step of the way. If you believe you are being harassed or evicted illegally, pick up the phone and call 311. If we can defend you legally, we will give you a lawyer for free. For free. And if you know anyone, as you hear this evening, if you know anyone who's in that situation, please tell them it is so important for them to make that call. Since we started giving people lawyers for free, evictions have gone down 24% in New York City. And we're going to drive them down more. And finally, the last piece of how we solve this is to constantly build more affordable housing and to provide subsidies to keep people who are already in affordable housing in housing they can afford for the long haul. That's going to reach 500,000 New Yorkers, our plan. 500,000. And in this district, this is amazing. There are already over 3,000 affordable apartments in the process of being produced right now in this district. Over 3,000 more affordable apartments on the way. Council members played a crucial role. He mentioned some amazing work that has been done, especially La Centrale, which has been a great, great step forward for affordable housing. And I want you to know that a lot of times people say, and it's a classic question, is it going to be affordable for me and my family? What is the definition of affordable housing? The answer in this city is we got different people who need different things. But a lot of the affordable housing we are building is for example, for a family of 3. A lot of the affordable housing we are building is for people who make $24,000. $24,000. And there's some that's for people who make more for sure. But the point is, when you say, is there affordable housing for every type of person in the community? Yes. Is there enough of it? I'm never going to say we have built enough. It's going to take us quite a while to keep building all this. It's a big job ahead. But we hear loud and clear the desire for people to see affordable housing at all the different income levels. We need affordable housing for people who are on a fixed income, especially our seniors. We need affordable housing for a household where there's one member working. We also need affordable housing for households where there's 2 people working, because even those households are struggling to make it work. So we're going to create all those different types. And that's going to be constant. And this district is actually one of the ones where we're creating the most affordable housing in the entire city. And when we do it, you can clap for that. And when we do it, we try and do other things as well whenever possible. So the council member mentioned in La Central the first YMCA in the community. That's an amazing step forward. It's not just affordable housing, it's finding a way to go beyond that and serve the broader needs of the community. We also believe, and we will be doing more and more to enforce this, we believe that when we build things, we want community members to benefit. We want jobs for community members when we build and in the building service thereafter. We also want, when we go out and we need companies to help us, we want more and more of those companies to be minority and women-owned businesses. And this is so important as a matter of justice, but it's also important as a matter of economic self-sufficiency. When the city of New York spends money, we would like that money to stay in the community as much as possible and go to companies based in New York City that hire New York City workers. So more and more of our developments, you'll see that. Now, we know that there's a lot we've got to do. And I mentioned the anti-eviction efforts. This is such an important part of the equation. And in this district alone, we've helped almost 700 families that were either facing harassment or eviction with legal support. So a lot of your neighbors are already benefiting, but we know there's so many more who could. We also have to go after bad landlords legally. And the public advocate has been a champion on this front with the worst landlords watch list. When we find, and there's a great partnership with the public advocate and our housing agency, HPD, when we find bad landlords, we try in every way we can to throw the book at them. So you've got a landlord right here in this community. I'm going to give you the name, Seth Miller, who owns 919 Prospect Ave. This building has a lot of violations. Lock him up. Wow, is that a new slogan? Tish James is borrowing from Donald Trump, everyone. Okay, yeah, now you're thinking twice about that, aren't you? But in that building, when the landlord doesn't do what they're supposed to do, we come in, we make the repairs, we hold the landlord responsible for paying for them. And since this landlord is not moving fast enough to do the things he's supposed to do, we are now filing contempt charges in housing court to hold him accountable. Now, I only got a couple more things I want to say quickly. And the second thing I want to talk about is on everyone's mind all the time in this city, because this is an amazing city filled with beautiful neighborhoods, filled with people who make us great. But every single one of us needs to think about safety. And we have come a long way in this city. We're still not safe enough, but we have come a long way. The men and women of the NYPD have done something extraordinary. It's been almost a quarter century of continuous improvement in the safety of this city. And one of the things we're particularly proud of is the neighborhood policing vision of our Commissioner, Jimmy O'Neill. And by the way, he spent a lot of the most important time in his career in the NYPD in the Bronx, and it was very important to the development of all of his views that you now see playing out. Neighborhood policing means police developing a really personal and direct relationship with the community, with the members of the community, officers having the opportunity to get to know a piece of the community very well, walk the beat, meet the store owners, meet the clergy, meet the elected officials, and really understand the people, and the people understanding the officer and how to work with them, how to get that officer information. And I hear so much from communities that have the neighborhood policing program, the NCO program. It's now in all of the precincts in this area, I'm proud to say. It means something as simple as you get to know the officer who patrols your area, and that officer gives you his or her cell phone. And you have a direct and immediate relationship where you can actually let that officer know when there's a challenge or problem or ask for help. It is revolutionizing the approach to policing, and it's going to draw on police and community closer together. That is getting deeper and deeper in the precincts of this community. But let me also tell you, when I tell you about neighborhood policing, it doesn't for a moment take away from our efforts to do strong public safety initiatives. In fact, it deepens our efforts at crime fighting. And one of the things I'm very, very proud of the NYPD has done more than ever is they have taken down an extraordinary number of gangs and crews in recent years. Just this year alone, 2016, so far across this borough, there have been 9 major gang and crew takedowns. There have been 310 arrests overall, but there also was one of them was the largest gang takedown in the history of this city. 120 gang members arrested in Williamsbridge. An amazing achievement. And also I want you to know, these precincts represented here have done an amazing job. They're doing more gun seizures than you've ever seen. Even just since last year, the number of gun seizures is going up and up. There's a very focused effort to get these guns off the streets. And we really want to thank all of the leadership here for what they are doing. And one thing it's important to remember, the NYPD is it already has an amazing record of success. But we have the neighborhood policing initiative now. We didn't used to have that. We have in the process of having 2,000 more officers come on the beat. By January, we will have 2,000 more officers than just 2 years ago. I want to thank the City Council again for their extraordinary support for that. We have our officers with better training, better technology than they've had in the entire history of the department. That means, why are the gun seizures going up? Because they're getting better and more precise at everything they do, and as you add more strength and capacity in NYPD, they're able to go after the bad guys more and more, and there's a very small number of people in this city causing most of the violence. But more and more of those folks are being caught, and their guns are being taken away by the NYPD, and you're going to see that before your very eyes. It's going to make a huge difference in this city. Couple more very quick things. We mentioned mental health before, and this is an area my wife, Charlene McCrae, has made the focus of her work. Now, I want to say 2 things. One, we announced something this week. Everybody in this room, if you know someone in your family, if you know someone in your life who has a mental health challenge, whether it's a severe one, or whether it's something like depression or anxiety, which afflicts so many people, especially a lot of our young people. Now, for the first time in the history of New York City, you can call 311 and get connected to a trained mental health professional 24 hours a day. You can text, you can email, you can get to someone who can help you. And literally anybody can call. You can call about an aunt, an uncle, a brother, a sister, a son, a daughter. You can call about someone you love in your life when you don't know where to turn, and there's someone trained who's there to help you. That anyone can call about their own situation and have someone to talk to. This is not just you make a phone call, they tell you what to do, you hang up, and that's it. This is actually a whole new idea. The folks who are on the other end of the line can help you figure out where you can get help, and then they stay in touch with you to make sure you got the help you needed. And if you need something else, they help you get that. This is really sticking with it, sticking with each person to make sure they get the help they need. Do you know how many problems in this city really are rooted in mental health? How many folks we see tragically homeless where it really was a mental health problem that didn't go treated? How many people, particularly young people, end up on Rikers Island when in fact it was a mental health problem we should have caught a lot earlier? So this initiative called NYC Well, for the first time in the history of the city, will go right at this problem, and we have a universal approach that any New Yorker can reach when they need help. I want you all to hear how to reach us. 1-888-NYC-WELL. So NYC-WELL. 1-888-NYC-WELL. You can go online, nyc.gov/NYC-WELL. You can text the word WELL to 65173. So there's a lot of ways to get this help. And finally, we know that one of the other things that is so precious, so important to all of us is our children and the future of our children in this city. You heard folks talk about, I want to thank my colleagues for everything they said about pre-K. This is my number one priority coming in the door, was to make sure every one of our children got pre-K. By the way, if there is anyone in this room who knows of a 4-year-old who is not registered for pre-K this year, we still can register them for pre-K, because there is literally a seat available for every single child in the city. Almost 72,000 kids are in pre-K right now. And in this district, there are twice as many kids getting full-day pre-K as just a couple of years ago. We're also doing another thing I'm so proud of. We just started it. It's part of an initiative we call Equity and Excellence. We know that our schools must be improved in every neighborhood. We know there is a bad history in this city of some neighborhoods being very privileged when it came to education and others being left behind. Equity and excellence is our vision. It means every school must be brought up in terms of its quality and standards. Every school must be invested in to the point that every school can actually be good, and schools that parents can believe in. One of the biggest things we're doing is here in District 7. We've started an initiative called Single Shepherd. This has never been done before in this city. Single Shepherd. Any young person in District 7, all young people in District 7 in middle school and high school, 6th grade through 12th grade, will be assigned an adult counselor who will stick with them and their family through the entire time they're in middle school and high school. Same human being will be there with them the whole way through. And not just you go to the guidance counselor's office once in a while. That's not what we're talking about. Single Shepherd is a guidance counselor or a life coach, someone who's going to help that young person and their family figure out everything, which high school to go to, if you want to go to college, if you want to go to some other type of career, how to navigate it. But imagine the difference. Instead of a kid getting an appointment once every few years, imagine the difference if the counselor knows the young person and their family year in and year out is there with them and for them and understands what that young person needs to succeed. Now, in more privileged families, that exists. There are people in the family who might have had a lot of opportunity and can help someone on the way. But there are a lot of families that haven't had those privileges. We need to even up the score. And the Single Shepherd model means that any young person, when they need help, when they're trying to figure out their path ahead, there is someone that they know is always there for them and their family to get it done. A real human being there with them every step of the way. That's happening here. I believe it's going to be a great success, and it's going to turn around a lot of lives. So those are some of the things we're working on. I wanted you to hear about them, but most importantly, for the next few hours, I want to hear from you, and I look forward to a very spirited dialogue. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we're going to start our town hall, where we're going to get an opportunity to ask one question. I'm going to ask that you please raise your hand. We're going to call on you. Please ask your one question. Please be respectful, and we're going to ensure that we get your question answered. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to go row. I'm going to try to hit every side, and we're going to continue. There's people by the sides with their microphones, and they will hand you the mic. You ask your one question, and you give your mic back, okay? All right. That's awesome. So we're going to start. I'm going to start right here in the middle here, and that young man there with his hand up.
My name is Naseem Hamed. I'm 17 years old. I'm lead youth organizer with a community-based organization, Youth Ministries for Peace and Justice. Thank you. I live in 1231 Bronx River Avenue. My man Marcos Crespo is my assemblyman, and Senator Ruben Diaz is my senator. Thank you guys for everything you do for me. Summons in schools are decreasing, but still hundreds of young people, almost all black and Latino, receive criminal summons for disorderly conduct, a non-criminal violation. If you think this is not okay, then what do you intend to do to end criminal consequences for normal youth behavior?
So I would say right now, I appreciate very much the question, and I appreciate how deeply involved you already are at your age in this community. Let's give him a round of applause for that. We are in a process of reform in our schools, and already what we found is this. We have greatly reduced, as you indicated, the number of arrests and summonses. We've greatly reduced the previous approach to discipline, and at the same time, crime in our schools is going down. And I believe there's a very strong parallel here to the reality with stop and frisk. As a lot of people know, I opposed the unconstitutional approach to stop and frisk that was taken in the previous administration. A lot of people said if you got rid of that bad approach, crime would go up. We got rid of the bad approach, crime went down 3 years running. The same in our schools. As we change the approach to discipline to end some of the unnecessary arrests and summonses, crime in schools actually has gone down. Now, it doesn't mean there will never be an arrest or a summons in the school, because when it's warranted, there will be. But what we're trying to do is more and more peer justice programs and other alternative approaches. We're trying to not leave young people with any kind of record. We don't have to. And I understand the point you're making. Some charges have been used in a very vague manner in the past. We're continuing to improve that, continuing to reform that. The line we always have to strike, the balance we have to strike is, we need safe and orderly schools, but we believe we can do that in a balanced way. We believe we can do that in a way that does not, for example, lead to so many suspensions as in the past that interrupted a kid's education, didn't help people. We believe we can get to a place that is more balanced and reformed. But that's a step-by-step kind of thing. You've seen some of the progress already. You'll see some more. Thank you.
Thank you. Awesome. All right, we're going to go right here in this row here. Mr. Peter Rosado. We'll come back, yes.
Good evening, Mayor de Blasio, Councilman Salamanca. My name is Peter Rosado. I'm a 29-year-old resident right here in the Bronx, live on Longwood and Southern Boulevard for 25 years. My question, as you approach the concept of affordable housing here in New York City, what are we doing to breach the gap that is being created between low-income affordable housing for our families who need it and those who can't afford market rent rate, like myself, who come back home and want to live our own lives, don't have families yet, but yet can't afford to live on our own because we don't yet reach the qualifications for not having enough money, and we don't have enough money yet to get our own apartment?
Look, I think there's a lot of mythology about the reality of affordable housing, and I'll try and shed some light. As I said, the approach we have taken consistently, we have affordable housing for families that make $20,000 plus. We have affordable housing for families who make more. The problem is, even as we've got the most aggressive affordable housing program this city's ever seen, enough for 500,000 people, there's still even more need than that. So that's why I laid out to you the vision we have of what we know we can achieve, the combination of protecting NYCHA, making sure there's fairness for the 2 million people in rent-stabilized housing, preventing evictions, and building and preserving enough apartments for 500,000 people. So when I say mythology, it's because sometimes people say to me, I can't apply for anything. I think when you look carefully, there is affordable housing for people in lots of different circumstances, lots of different incomes, but it's very competitive. I don't want to in any way, promise you a rose garden here. It is very competitive. But we are trying to create a situation where there's more and more options. The other thing we're trying to do is raise people's wages and incomes and benefits, because that's another piece of the puzzle. We think that so many people in the city have not just been negatively affected by the increase in the cost of housing, they've been negatively affected by the fact that there's too many minimum wage jobs, and the minimum wage is too low. So we fought very hard, and a lot of my colleagues were in the vanguard to get the minimum wage increased in Albany. We've also fought for some of the benefits that would make sure people don't lose income, like paid sick leave, which we got another 1 million New Yorkers now covered with paid sick leave. We're going to keep doing things like that and creating jobs and creating the opportunity to get to jobs that are higher paying. because there are many well-paid jobs in this city that could go to New York City residents if they only had the training for them, particularly the technology sector. So we're putting a lot more money into training to get people to tech jobs. We're doing all those things. It doesn't mean the equation is easy, meaning that still there's a lot to navigate. But the city government is trying with a whole variety of tools to get people the opportunity to live in their own city. That is the vision that we are working from. Thank you.
Thank you. Awesome. All right, we're going to go to this row here, Ms. Paula Fields.
Good evening. Thank you very much and welcome.
Thank you.
And my issue is with the lottery system that New York City has through HPD. I went to a town hall meeting earlier in the year, and I spoke to the commissioner of HPD, and he told me that the lottery system is ran like maybe you have 100,000 people applying for a new building or a new development, and I'm talking about the developments that come in my district because 14 of them have been developed, and I applied for them, or yet I have never been through the process of getting an apartment. And that's a lot of apartments. I'm concerned about that. I want to know if you have a plan where we can sit down and talk about this lottery system because, you know, the applications that I did, they sent me to Brooklyn. I'm not interested in living in Brooklyn. I want to live here where it burned down. I was marching for housing, where I was raised my children, where I work. I want to stay in the South Bronx.
Thank you. I want to stop and appreciate the point you made that you and so many other people stood and fought when the Bronx was going through so much trouble. And I honor that. I spent a lot of time in the Bronx in those days, and I saw how tough it was. And I always admire the fact that a lot of people said, we're going to take it back and not let it slip away. And you can see what you've achieved by looking around you today. The lottery system is, well, from everything I know of it, is not the problem. There's certainly been some cases where the lottery wasn't right, but I'm being real with you about what's really going on. What's really going on is there's so many people who need affordable housing. It's extraordinarily competitive. Our job is to keep adding more and more units into the supply. That's the real truth. The fact that you haven't gotten a unit yet does not mean the system doesn't work. It means there's a whole lot of people applying for those apartments. Now, I have met people, like everyday people come up to me on the street and tell me they won a lottery, they got into the apartment, and how it changed their lives. I know it works. But I also want to remind you, we're in the process now of building 80,000 apartments all over. And you obviously have to make a choice. If there's an opportunity somewhere else and you don't want to take it, that's your choice. But we are building 80,000 affordable apartments in this city, brand new. We're also preserving 120,000 apartments where we're providing subsidy to keep people in their apartment and affordable for the long haul. But as I said a moment ago, that's not enough. I'm never going to tell people that's enough. There's even more need than that, which means if everyone applies for lottery, there's still going to be people who need help. Our job is just try and keep adding to that supply. So if you or anyone finds an actual problem in the lottery, I'll take it seriously. But I'm telling you, I don't think that's the core problem. I think it's too many people who need affordable housing, and we're trying to catch up. That is the reality. I understand why you say that, because you would like the but of course, but listen, again, the councilman indicated to me earlier on, I'm not here to say things that are necessarily always popular. I'm here to inform and tell you the truth. You would like to stay here, perfectly fair. This is where you love, and this is a place that you help to protect and build. Perfectly fair. My job, his job, is to get you every possible option to do that. But there's a whole lot of other people exactly in the same situation. We have to just keep putting more and more options in place so you have more. Listen to the example, La Centrale, how many apartments?
992.
That's one development, 980 apartments. So it's going to take time to build that, but we're going to keep doing that and keep doing that. That does not mean the lottery is not working, that there hasn't been enough apartments yet to go around. It means we have to keep building apartments. I really believe that.
Awesome, thank you. I'm going to take another question here in the crowd. Ms. Lena Lopez there, yes.
Good evening, and thank you for being here, Mayor. My question is, I'm a board member, and in my short experience as a community board member, I noticed that veterans are underrepresented in community boards. What is your administration doing to change that?
That's an excellent question. Appreciate it. You're actually the first person that I've come across in almost 3 years on this job who's asked that question. It's a very good question, so I commend you. We're doing a lot to uplift veterans. I think you make a point that getting veterans into leadership positions helps to defend their interests. So I'm going to bring that one back. The borough presidents name the community boards with consultation with council members. And it's something we can work on to encourage that to be one of the ways we think about it, is to give veterans opportunity. Well, I can say we've done for veterans in general. We started the Department of Veterans Services. The city never had that before. We put a huge emphasis on getting veterans mental health care they have not gotten from the federal government. And also, working with the Obama administration, we ended chronic veteran homelessness in this city. I'm very proud of that. We used to have veterans who were long-term homeless on the streets of this city. We have ended that reality. We got every single one of them to housing. There are still veterans out there who need housing, no two ways, and it's a super priority for us. If a veteran is homeless, that is a very high priority for us to make sure they get to permanent housing. But there used to be a number of folks who served this country and were out of housing for years and years. They have been accommodated. We've gotten them to housing. So that is part of the commitment we make, and we're going to do a lot more for our veterans, again, because the federal government is clearly not doing enough. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So we're going to go to this side here. Young lady right there, standing right there in the back. You, yes, you.
Good evening. Hi, my name is Kenya Smith. I'm here with my mom, Novella Farrow, and she's from the South Bronx. So we've lived here for 20 years, and the concern is public safety in the NYCHA buildings. So the concern is that there's substance abuse going on, there's drugs being sold, and it's a huge safety issue for the elders and especially the children. You know, it really creates an unsafe environment. There's a lot of fighting, drug dealing going on, you know, in several of the buildings. And even if NYPD is informed, you know, we really don't know how this can be resolved. So we just wanted to know what can be done about that.
I really appreciate the question. And obviously, we're deeply concerned about drug dealing because it's drug dealing to begin with, and certainly particularly concerned about heroin and opioids and what's that's doing. But on top of it, because drug dealing is the basis for a lot of violence, particularly among gangs. This is why neighborhood policing is such an important part of the equation, because it provides opportunity for police officers to really understand what's going on in each building and develop relationships with the two of you and other people to get very specific information about how to address the problem. And then you're able to hold them accountable personally because you know them and you know how to reach the individual officer. But let me have our colleagues from NYPD. Who's here from the PSA? Thank you. Why don't we have you? I'm catching up. Hold on. Cheating. Inspector.
Mike, I'm sorry.
There you go. Inspector, please give a little
Hello,
update
ma'am.
on how we're approaching it.
Hello, ma'am. How are you? Can you tell me what development you're talking about?
Murphy Private.
Excuse me?
Murphy Private.
Okay.
Excuse me. Murphy
Yes.
Private.
In the 4-2 precinct?
Yes, 42.
Yes, I'm familiar with that area.
Yes.
And it's an extremely challenging area. And, you know, with Commissioner O'Neill, our police commissioner, when he was the chief of department, he was in charge of our ComStat. And part of what he looked at was not just how many arrests we make, but what kind of arrests we make. And he drills that to us when he would do the ComStat and in our meetings. He wanted to see numbers for numbers. He wanted to see what we were getting. So when we look at arrests and complaints, also he wants us to make sure that we're working with our colleagues in narcotics. Like before I came here tonight, I had a meeting with our gang captain and our narcotics captain. And we talked about problematic areas that we're finding challenging associated with violence, which was associated with drugs at the time. So I agree, we have an NCO program. So for your area, we had a shooting recently in that development. An arrest was made, but we realized we can't just drive away and forget about that, because we monitor whether the person's still at court, whether the person's out, and what's our plan to make sure, to do our best to make sure that a shooting doesn't happen again. So what we do is we monitor the areas. We get feedback from not just the community, from our intelligence officers and sergeants, and we look at our narcotic complaints also. And what I do in PSA 7, I look at all the, weekly, I get a list of the narcotics complaints or shots fired locations, and I go into my roll calls personally, and I tell them. I look at what the officers are doing, and then I look at the problems that are going on, whether it's associated with narcotics or it's with gunfire. So just to answer your question, and with that too, if I have, let's say, an arrest, if I know my officer's making an arrest, let's say if it's a drug dealer or a gang member, and we look at his arrest history, whether I'm at home or I'm at work, it goes to my phone, I look at it closely, and then I could call colleagues in the district attorney's office, and I'll ask, hey, this is a bad guy, I'd like to ask for a high bail, and can we monitor this person also? So clearly, I'll be here afterwards. I'm familiar with the Murphy Project. We've had some complaints about that. I've referred it to my conditions units at work. In addition to that, I've worked closely with the 4-2 precinct. There's a new commander there now, but the previous commander, we work closely. We're on the phone. Whether we're working or not working, again, we text and email back and forth. And if this is a problem, again, I'd like to hear more about it afterwards.
So it's 4-2 precinct. Can we have the commander come over?
Yeah, so he's the new commander here, and
why don't you both introduce yourself, because you actually didn't say your name. Both introduce yourself so everyone knows.
I'm sorry, my name is Jerry O'Sullivan. I'm the commanding officer of PSA 7.
Good evening. My name is Deputy Inspector Ernest Morales III. Particularly concerned about your issues. I personally grew up in residential housing, so I experienced it personally. I know the challenges you face on a daily basis, and Inspector Sullivan and myself will work to resolve your issues.
Okay, so see them after, okay?
Definitely.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. All right, I'm going to take another question here. Yeah, let's go to the young lady right there, Yvonne. Yeah.
Hi, Mayor. Good evening. So I have one question, and it's in regards to our education system. We have one of the largest education systems, and we also have a lot of children that are stuck in underperforming schools. So my question to you is, what is your immediate goal to bring a solution to that problem? Because those children are our children, African American and Hispanic kids.
Exactly right. We need, and immediate is the name of the game from my point of view. We have a vision for how to fundamentally change the school system over the next few years, but a lot of it has to happen right now. So for example, obviously pre-K is right now. For middle school kids, we now provide free after-school programs for every single middle school child in this city. And there's still a lot of kids who are not taking advantage of it. If you're a 6th, 7th, or 8th grader, you are given 3 extra hours after school for tutoring and instruction and enrichment and recreation, the whole thing. That's free. That is everywhere in the city. So these are some of the initial things we're doing to try and improve the situation for all our kids, for all our kids. Now, we are doing a lot more to train our teachers better, because what we found in the past, teachers were not given enough of the training and development to be as good as they could be. We are doing a lot more to give parents a deeper role in their child's education. Now, every single teacher in New York City has a mandate every week to spend time talking to parents about what their child needs and to be a strategic partner with the parent. The immediate term goals that we've put in place include constant increase in graduation rates, test scores, and reading levels. So right now, New York City, for the first time in our history, we're over 70% graduation rate. We want to get that to 80% quickly, because that's someplace we've never been before. We want 80% of our kids to graduate on time. We want to make sure that reading continues to improve. Our vision is to get every child to reading level by 3rd grade. When I came into office, under 30% of our kids were on reading level by 3rd grade. We're now at 41%. We're going to just keep moving that, keep moving that, keep moving that right now. And a kid who goes into pre-K this year is not only going to get that benefit for the next 3-4 years. They're going to get intensive work to help them get on grade level with reading. We want that child by 3rd grade to be ready for an entirely successful academic future. So these are big changes in the school system, and they're happening right now. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we're going to go to this side of the table. I mean, this room here. That gentleman in the back there. In the back, yeah.
Thank you for the opportunity, Councilman. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for hearing us. I'd like to bring something to your attention, a problem plaguing 114 units here in the South Bronx. specifically on Prospect Avenue, Beck, Fox Street, Avenue St. John. There's a drainage problem, a drainage system problem in the homes, and it was partially installed. With that drainage system partially installed, there's going to be a lot of erosion. Okay, this erosion has been affecting the foundations of the homes. Door jambs are falling in. There are cave-ins in walkways and on the crawl spaces and things of that nature. They've dropped 5 to 6 feet in some cases. And because of the water buildup, we have mold, we have mildew, and things of that nature. Several people have come out to supposedly do jobs on the properties, but because some of the tenants in the homes have excessively large terraces, they say, oh, you don't have a permit for that terrace, we're not going to do any work.
What's the name of the development?
Villa Maria Homes.
Villa Maria, okay. So Villa Maria, and I'll start, and who knows EDC, is it, or HPD? HPD. So you can come on over and join me, Deputy Commissioner for HPD. 2018?
Yes.
Okay, so the answer is, this is, as you just indicated, this has got some complexities, but we are committed to a solution. We're going to have to do some work to get there. So now, remember, help people understand this in a straightforward, non-bureaucratic manner, what it's going to take to get it solved. We are on the way to a solution. We're on the way to a solution, but let's have the Deputy Commissioner lay it out and introduce yourself.
We're going to be working, I'm Daniel Hernandez, I'm a Deputy Commissioner at HPD. We'll be working closely with Salamanca's office as well as the residents in the buildings. We know that all these issues are happening in the building right now, so we want to communicate with everyone and actually do construction in a phased way, starting this spring as soon as the ground thaws and we can actually start doing all the work. Right now, we're meeting all the residents, inspecting all of the backyards to understand what the range of issues are, so then we can begin working with the residents to begin construction. We anticipate that it's going to be phased, like I said, so we're going to do maybe 20 to 30 buildings at a time or units at a time, and then we'll finish it over the next couple of, well, probably by 2018, we plan on actually having all the project completed. We have money allocated to the project, so it's been approved already. And
the goal, and even though this will take patience, and I know you've been through a lot, the goal is it's all completed by the summer of 2018. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, awesome. I'm going to take one more question here, and then I'm going to go to this side, that young lady right there.
Wait, we need a microphone for her.
I'm going to ask that please be patient. We're trying to get to every part of the room, and then we'll get to you. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Keisha Martin. I'm a teacher's assistant in District 75 schools. Social promotion still exists.
Just speak louder for everyone.
Social promotion still exists in special education, elementary, District 75 schools, and in public school L, English as a language, English language learners, focusing only on exposure and not mastery. Is there a strategy that exists in order to combat this issue?
I would like our Deputy Chancellor to step forward and join me in this one. This one may be above my pay grade, Dorita. So, Deputy Chancellor, DOE, Dorita Gibson. And so your concern is you believe that social promotion is going on with special ed kids in a different way than approach for general ed kids. Is that what you're saying? Okay. Speak to that, would you?
Good evening, and thank you for your question. Our goal in the city is to make sure that all children graduate with an understanding and ability to read and do the work. And I understand what you're saying, that we don't want to push children forward, but now that we no longer use test scores as a cutoff, we use a multi-criteria way of making decisions in terms of whether children should be promoted or not. But we also like to engage the parents in this conversation, and teachers really need to help us make decisions whether or not children need other types of academic intervention services that need to be on all throughout the whole day. But also summer is a great time for closing that gap and also really reintroducing what needs to happen during the school year. Not to retain children, sometimes you have to, but you shouldn't just push children forward without a plan on what you're going to do with that. So if this is happening in your school, at the end of the day, I like to take that information down because we do want to make sure that all of our children, special needs, children with English language learners, and all children have the opportunity to learn and not push them forward, because at the end of the day, it's a mistake. So thank you, but I'll take that information from you. Thank you.
All right, thank you, thank you. So I'm going to take some questions here. I'm going to ask Mr. Salvatore. Mr. Mayor, before Sal speaks, just to give you a little history, Sal's uncle is Father Gigante, who helped rebuild the South Bronx here in SEPCO. And he's still with us. He's the chairman of SEPCO, but now his nephew, Salvatore Gigante, he's actually running SEPCO. And he's
I like
a pillar in our community.
he's saying it the Spanish way. We Italians would say gigante, so I just want to represent here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
And thank you, Raphael. This is a great event. SEPCO, as Raphael said, has been in this neighborhood 49 years, built a lot of housing, over 6,000 units. Currently, we have 3 homeless shelters. 2 are family, and 1 is a single men's shelter. Recently, with the homeless crisis in the city, we've noticed a major issue in the men's shelter specifically. There's been some clients brought to the shelter that have mental issues and mental health issues. The real catalyst or the issue that I see is not only are these people who are sharing bedrooms with other people potentially in danger themselves, but the other clients are potentially in danger as well as my staff. There's been a lot of issues in shelters in the last few years. It's the one item that keeps me up at night, worrying about safety. We're underfunded technically for the security forces, for the amount of cameras we would probably need. But the real crux of the issue is that these mentally ill people who should be in special places for homeless people with those mental issues are being put into the general population, so to speak, thus creating a situation that is very dangerous and
I
scary.
appreciate this question very, very much, and it's a real problem. So I'm going to call a little ensemble together. Which precinct are you in?
4-1.
4-1. 4-1. Could the commander of the 4-1 join me, and could our health is our...
So just for some clarity, SEPCO also has some shelters in the 4-2 precinct. That's where the majority of your stock is at as well, yeah.
But the specific case you're talking about, is that 4-1 or 4-2? Okay, it was great knowing you. 4-2, come on up. Can we get our health commissioner to come join us? And can we get, who's here from Homeless Services also? Come on over. I'm going to do a little ensemble here. Just join me because I'm going to narrate. Come on over. So, okay. I appreciate this question. This is about this particular site, but it is a much bigger question for the city. I will simply say, in terms of homelessness, we are putting a whole set of strategies into place right now to try and reverse the dynamics with homelessness. It is not easy. It will take time. But we believe if we keep reducing the evictions, which are forcing people into shelter, and we provide subsidies to keep people in their apartments so they don't lose their apartments, that's part of how you stem the tide. We're also, as you may have heard, we're going to be creating the largest amount of supportive housing the city's ever seen before. We're committed to 15,000 supportive apartments. That means for people who have mental health challenges and substance abuse challenges, et cetera, who need that extra help and affordable housing. That's 15,000 apartments on top of the affordable housing plan I mentioned earlier. So there's a lot of strategies that are being moved right now to start to bring that number down. But we know there's a very distinct problem, as you indicate. If someone has a mental health challenge, they go into a shelter, and then there could be a danger associated with that. So the reason I brought this group together is the precinct, all the precincts now are playing a bigger role in addressing the needs of shelters in terms of safety. NYPD is providing a lot more supervision for the security arrangements in shelters, and part of neighborhood policing is if you've got a specific set of problems, the neighborhood coordinating officer needs to know about that so they can assist in that. So that's the precinct piece of the equation. The mental health part of the equation is we're trying to get people to mental health solutions on a much bigger, better scale than previously, and we're providing specifically more mental health specialists who can reach into shelters and provide some of that support. And again, Homeless Services will coordinate with you in terms of what you need. So anyone can comment if they want to, but I wanted to first frame that unlike in the past where bluntly I think shelters were sent people with mental health challenges without a lot of support for that, and there wasn't a situation where the NYPD had been fully brought into the equation. We're trying to change that in the name of safety. We also know if we make shelters safer, it's good for everyone involved, and also helps get people off the street once they know they can go into a safer shelter. Would anyone like to add to my narrative or talk about any next steps to help in this particular situation?
I can speak about the pyramid houses. We've actually met with the director of security there, who has committed 5 security guards to work along with my 2 NCOs. I have 2 foot posts out there in the plaza on day tours and 412s. I also work with Boricua College as well. So my safety concerns are that we at least monitor the residents of the shelter when they are utilizing the plaza. Since we have taken that approach, complaints have gone down, but we're looking to improve that, and we're looking to continue working with the community.
The presence of people with mental illness in the shelter system is the end of a long road of people with mental illness. Part of our strategy is the one you heard the mayor talk about earlier this evening, that we want people to reach out early when they have concerns, but we've also greatly bolstered our ability to send outreach teams and provide a much higher level of care in communities. And we've reached out to the shelter directors, and they know how to reach these teams. So there's an alternative to calling 911. You can call and get mental health professionals to come out and see somebody who's not a danger to themselves or others, but who needs more help than they're getting where they are.
So can we make sure through DHS that we get you that support for your facilities? And thank you again for all you are doing and your family has done for this community. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to take another question right here. Pass the mic to that gentleman there, Mr. Roland Lopez there.
Good evening. I'm a homeowner of a brownstone, and we have some owners here. The area is known as the Longwood Historic District, and these are turn-of-the-century brownstones. I was raised there. I recently came back from City Island. When Sandy hit, I had substantial damage to my condo, and my mother had passed away. Now, when you speak about a tale of 2 cities, I can tell you that the difference between City Island and the Hunts Point area, it's different.
Yep.
What we have here is a long-standing problem with misdelivered mail. It's unbelievable. Ralph knows that, and Ralph, thank you for what you have done. And still we have that problem. Right here, I have about 30
Roland, the mic.
different, I live at 778 Dawson. I get 780
Yep.
Union. And to tell you the truth, I'm a retired detective with the NYPD. And I take, any job that you do, you should do it well.
Yep.
But I see some of these mail carriers speaking on looking at their cell phones, delivering mail. People are not getting their packages. And I don't think it's fair. So let's just do something about it.
Mr. Mayor, if I may. So we in the South Bronx, and I will be very frank and blunt about it, we have the worst post office that there is in the nation, if I can't say that. Yes. They agree with me. Every year we meet with the new postmaster in the Bronx. For the last 2 years, we've had the same postmaster who's been working with us. And the problem continues. Just 2 weeks ago, I had a meeting with Senator Diaz because we sent out 50,000 pieces of mail, and we got back close to 6,000 pieces of mail back to our office, which should have been delivered, which is totally unacceptable. Roland, I can tell you that after that meeting with the senator, I sent a letter to the Inspector General for the Postmaster in Washington, D.C., asking for an internal audit of our post office here in the South Bronx because it is unfair, the services that we're receiving. So I can tell you that that's a federal issue. We're going to continue to work on that. I spoke to you because we're going to be getting some good press on that, and we're going to continue to push and ask that we get better services here in the South Bronx.
Now, as a councilman said real quick, it is a federal issue, but we can also push the federal government. Have we talked to our 2 United States senators yet?
The letters went out to Senator Schumer and
Senator
Gillibrand,
Gillibrand, okay.
and we also sent it to Congressman Serrano as well.
So what I'll do, because I want to give a little extra push to what the councilman is doing, that I too will follow up with Senator Schumer and Senator Gillibrand to put this on their agenda to get the changes.
Awesome. All right, we're going to go to this side of the room here. I'm going to try to get 3 questions, and then I'm going to get 3 questions over there, okay? So I am going to start. I'm sorry. So we're going to start right here with this young lady there, Ms. Altagracia Cruz.
Casi toditos que hablan español. Que me busquen un translator.
Tell Jonathan to put Schumer and Gillibrand on my call list, and we need to get the details.
Todavía.
Sí, sí. Okay.
Okay. Buenas noches. Gracias por tener esta presentación en este día. La comunidad.
De nada.
La comunidad que más lo ha querido a ustedes por muchos años. Mi pregunta, o consejo, como sea lo que lo quiera decir, es la propuesta que hicieron de Spafford. Eran 4. ¿Quién hizo esa decisión? Porque muchos de nosotros no estamos de acuerdo, porque no compartieron con nosotros para hacer la decisión mejor que le conviniera a todo el mundo. No supimos nada hasta lo último ahora que están de que resolviendo, y el caballero allí joven que tiene un futuro comenzando behind el papá de él, y él tiene un proyecto de veterano y más para los seniors, y no le han dado una buena respuesta diciéndole tú eres parte del programa.
So, Mr. Mayor, what Altagracia is saying is that she feels that there has been a lack of transparency in the decision-making on Spofford. And she would like clarity as to who made the decision on Spofford and why was the community not involved in that decision-making. Tiene que dar micrófono para atrás.
Okay, I want to introduce the president of the Economic Development Corporation, Maria Torres Springer, who and her agency was in charge of the process with Spofford, so she's going to speak to that.
Good evening. Thank you for your question. So our intent for the redevelopment of the Spofford facility was to make sure that it was a very community-driven plan that was important to us, so that the project that we announced today was something that really reflected what the community needed and wanted. And so since when we released the proposal last year to get all of the bids that we did get, that was after speaking to so many community members about their needs and aspirations. We ran an open process. We met with the leadership of the community board, the district manager, the chair, the treasurer, a number of others in the middle of the process, and have today, in announcing with a council member, a project that we hope is deserving of the community. It's 100% affordable housing. It will bring jobs, community space, open space. The partners in the project are a lot of the community organizations who are anchored here in the Bronx, like the Point CDC Urban Health Plan. The thing that I'll say, which we've worked so closely with Councilmember Salamanca on, is that it's also, this is not the end of the process. We announced the development team this week. We talked about their proposal, but as a council member knows, this is just the start of even more public engagement. At the end of the day, the vote to approve this project has to go through the City Council. And our pledge and our commitment is to, in that process, take all of your feedback to make sure that the project is an even better one.
I'm sorry, Altagracia, there's only one question. Perdone. We'll come around and we'll give you another shot. All right, so I'm going to take 2 more questions on this side. I'm going to get that gentleman right back there with the hat, Mr. Cedric Mr. Cedric McCluster.
Good evening and welcome, Mr. Mayor. My name is Cedric McCluster. I represent Forward South Bronx Coalition. We're community partners against underage drinking and other substance misuse. We were founded in 2011, and we're located in the Longwood Hunts Point section of the Bronx. Just as in our founding, we based it on research and statistics. Underage drinking was the #1 problem. According to the most recent health department statistics, it remains the #1 problem. Now, where do they get it? They get it in the home, or they get it in a friend's home. So we've been supportive of an initiative, social host ordinance. And I'd like to ask both of you, is that something you could be supportive of? But let me explain. The social host ordinance puts adults who supply the alcohol not in jeopardy. It would start with the warning, then it would be community service, and then if it was a third time, there would be a fine. This is something that is presently in the city council, and I just want to know if that's something you could support.
This is the first time I am hearing this one, to be honest with you.
Well, Councilman Vaca has been behind it for a long while.
Okay.
And I believe also King. I'm not sure.
Okay, do you know about this?
No, I don't know much about that, Cedric, but I know your organization came to see me last week on a resolution that I am supporting to eliminate, asking the state of New York to stop post or advertising alcohol on MTA buses and on train stations. When I get back, I'm going to instruct my staff. I'm going to look into that bill that you're discussing.
And you tell me one more time, what is it called? It's the name you use?
Social host ordinance.
Social host ordinance. Okay, I will get you an answer. I don't know, I haven't seen it before, and I haven't heard about it, but I'll get you an answer about where we stand for sure.
All right.
Elvin will
All right,
Elvin
awesome.
will follow up. Thank you very much.
I'm going to go there to Seaball. Have you heard of Seaball, Mr. Mayor? It's called Sleep. Why don't you explain to them about Seaball? Community Board Athletic Basketball League.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. My name is Tracy Woodall. I'm the Vice President of Seaball, which is the Community Board Athletic Leadership League. We're doing a great work in the Bronx. What we do is we cater to children ages 7 to 18 years old. We have a basketball event. We do a youth clinic, and we're the league that brings everyone together. Most of our officers and our police officers, we connect with our elected officials. We have an 18 and over game where our councilman played, as well as Elvin Garcia that works with you. He knows a lot about Seaball and what we do for the community. Right now, we're trying to actually take Seaball not only in the Bronx, but we want to make it a city initiative. What we're doing is that we're collaborating with all the CBOs throughout the Bronx and every district of the Bronx, District 1 through 7. So, for example, if the kids, the members, which we have 300 plus members at this time, have a need, or if they're going through with no food or any issues like that, we're connecting them with the organizations within their community so that they can actually assess what's going on in the household to help that youth as well as their parents. So we've been doing this for 3 years now, and I'm really glad that we got the opportunity to tell you, because we've been trying to reach you in regards to really getting your support. And we've been doing a great work here in the Bronx, and we want to be able to change the lives of our youth. We want to get them off the streets. We want to be able to not just do basketball. We want to also branch out into other sports. So we've been collaborating with a lot of people, a lot of faces in here that we know personally. My question is, as I've been assessing a lot of the youth in the Bronx, we know that we are saturated with a lot of shelters. A lot of the kids come from shelters. And in the public school system, I wanted to know what is being done with the resources, because a lot of the parents that are the children of those that are our members are not knowing the resources that they're supposed to have in the school system in regards to Metro cards, uniforms, and things of that nature. So I wanted to know if there's someone in here that knows all the shelters that are in the Bronx, because there's some that we do know and some that are coming into our borough that is not coming to the community boards and actually saying they're here. So what's being done in that area?
Thank you. First of all, I really want to thank you for what you're doing for our young people. Let's give them a round of applause. Appreciate it. And I was a youth league coach myself. Just so everyone knows my commitment to public service, when my son Dante was 5 years old, they talked me into doing the morning basketball clinic for 5-year-olds. And it was 9 a.m. on a Saturday morning. I had 25 5-year-olds. The most dangerous mission I ever went on in my life. And so I admire everyone who serves with young people, and particularly introduces them to sports, which does so much good for them. I'll have Elvin follow up to see if there's opportunities for funding or anything else that we can connect you to. On the issue of homeless kids, one of the things we put in the last city budget is that every homeless shelter is going to have attendants, counselors, and other support for kids who are in shelter, because we know they have burdens that are greater than kids who are from a neighborhood and go to their neighborhood public school. We want to make sure those kids get extra support. We are providing school bus rides now for any child who's in shelter outside their home neighborhood and outside their home school so they can get back to their home school. But we're going to do a very hands-on approach to giving them extra counseling, extra support, extra tutoring in the shelter. I believe we are current with the places that need it, but if anyone knows of a shelter that doesn't seem to be getting those supports, tell our team and we'll make sure to get those kids the help they need. Thank you.
All right, awesome. Thank you. All right, so we're going to go over here to this side there. We're going to go to the gentleman in the back, Mr. Esteves.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening.
My name is Pedro Esteves. I'm the president of United Auto Merchants Association. I represent automotive businesses in the city of New York. Everybody knows that the Queens, the Willis Point section used to house over 250 automotive businesses, and the previous administration disseminated all of them with the eminent domain. They disappeared. There is only 45 of them that are located here on 1080 Longwood Avenue that we're able to transfer. And they've been there waiting to open the business for over 2 years. They need your help, Mayor. Also, now moving now to this, with this experience in mind, the imminent rezoning of Jerome Avenue. There is a rezoning that is slated to be done to over 2.5 miles, where over 200 automotive businesses are located. We welcome the building of new housing, but we cannot make it under the backs of all these hundreds and hundreds of employees that are going to be displaced because their city did not have a plan for the Willis Point. Over 200 businesses disappeared. Only 45 are left. Now, does the city have a plan for the retention and relocation of those businesses? Because if they don't, Mayor, with all due respect, they're not going nowhere. They're going to stay there. And looking at the landscape as it is now, there's not going to be a place to build over 4,000 units that they are planned to be done. What is the plan for the city to do with those businesses located in that strip of 2.5 miles? And I would like an answer, please.
Thank you very much. We clearly want the businesses to succeed. It's very straightforward. And you're right that the decisions about Willets Point were taken in the previous administration. We have tried to follow through and help the businesses that remain. There's more work to do, obviously. But in terms of what would happen with any potential rezoning for Jerome Avenue, look, that's going to be a process with the community. That's going to be a process with the council member. There's a lot of work to do. But you said something important. And again, my job is to always tell people the truth as I see it. Of course we want to protect businesses and jobs. But I also want to say, you said 4,000, potentially enough for 4,000 apartments. 4,000 new apartments and the affordable apartments that would mean for the people of this community is such an important thing. So this is the kind of choice we're going to have to make going forward. I don't think it has to be an either or. I don't think it has to be one versus another. I think there's a way to create the affordable housing and be smart about protecting the businesses or finding the businesses a place that'll work. That is always the goal. But what I would not want, again, to communicate very openly with you, I would not want to see a situation where we fail to create the housing people need. From my point of view, we've got to find a way to do it. We've got to find a way to protect businesses. But I do not want to walk away because it's complex and leave all that housing behind. There are too many people suffering right now without affordable housing. So that's got to be my number one priority, is get people the affordable housing so they can live in their own neighborhood. Okay? And we will follow up with you.
All right, Mr. Mayor, just one last question in terms that he asked. I don't know if you can explain on what's happening with Sunrise Co-op, because that's really the elephant in the room here. I don't know if EDC can come and talk a little bit about what's happening there.
Yes. Let's have our EDC president speak to that.
Good evening. Thank you for
closer.
Thank you for the question. I was actually at the facility just this morning. As you might know, in the last administration, The Willits Point project was approved. What we have done for the co-op since then is to provide funding as part of a legal settlement. I understand that today there are some very challenging and complicated, it's a challenging, complicated situation that you're in. We have been talking to the Urban Justice Center. I made the visit this morning. We are very open to finding ways where we can be helpful. I do want to, as the mayor has instructed us, always try to be honest, that there will be limitations to the help that we can provide. But I am, my pledge is to be as creative as possible, because we do want to make sure that your businesses continue to thrive, and we understand you are in a very, very difficult situation right now.
Thank you. I'm going to take another question over there, Colaco, Nehemiah Condos.
Hi, I'm a board member from Nehemiah Condos, one of the biggest condominiums in the South Bronx, over 144 units. We are a project that was funded partially by HPD, and we've been having a lot of issues. Actually, I'm here with a couple of our residents and board members as well, along with our management company. So I'm going to pass the question on to Thomas Thibodeau from our management company.
My name is Thomas Thibodeau, New Bedford Management. I represent Nehemiah Condo 4. They're having difficulties with the property. They're having difficulties with the property that was originally built by HPD, and they have $2 million worth of projects need to, the drainages, sinking the parking lot, the facade, but they're already out of the program. The subsidy's over, and they're looking for help with this project. Is there any kind of vehicle that would be able to help a condo? It's not a co-op.
Yeah, I'll have the Deputy Commissioner speak to it. And I think there's a help we can provide. I'm not sure it's everything you would want, but I think there is some help we could provide. Let's have the Deputy Commissioner speak to it.
Yeah, we had talked just a little while ago as well with you guys. So I want to actually invite you to the office so we can talk a little bit more about the construction problems there. But we have offered home ownership loans to the homeowner association, but I know that you want to talk a little bit deeper about the problems that are there, so why don't we have a meeting in our office? I have your card. I'll make an appointment with you, and then we can have a more in-depth discussion at HPD. Thank you.
Awesome. I'm going to take one more question here, and then I'm going to jump to the next row there. Ms. Tanya Fields there, definitely.
Thank you. My name's Tanya Fields. I run an organization here in the South Bronx and the Hunts Point Longwood area called the Black Project. We've heard about housing. I kind of do want to mirror what Paula said. I don't think there's anything wrong with the lottery, but I think that we need to relook at the percentage in terms of preference that are given to people who already live here. We've talked about education. I want to talk about food. I run an organization that is about food, and I want to look at the intersectionalities, because as we talk about housing and we're talking about homelessness, then we're talking about folks who don't have good access to food right now, right? And so one of the ways that I, as a community advocate and activist and the mom of 6 children, is that I run a urban farm on Simpson called Libertad Urban Farm. I have this big bus that we've turned into a food distribution method. One of the problems that I've come into contact with has been the permitting process in this city. I think that when you were talking, you ran your campaign, you were talking about the tale of two cities. You know, the prior administration gave a lot of rhetoric to like having a more healthy and a greener city. And there's been a disconnect between like methodology and going forward and actual rhetoric. Anyone who lives in this community knows that the food landscape in here is dismal, right? Many of our supermarkets are giant like bodegas and don't get a lot of resources. So
I want you to call on me.
Yeah, okay, I'm gonna call you.
No,
So
I want you to call on me because I'm gonna ask you a question.
Yes.
What do you need?
What I need is for you guys to relook at the permitting situation.
When
the
you
way
say
that
the
it looks-
permitting, help me out. The permitting.
Food permitting, right?
For?
Okay, so I run this bus, and it's been difficult for us to get permitting to take this bus out onto the street and serve people who do not have access to food. So we get lots of food from upstate
You need
farmers.
a permit for this bus so you
Right,
can feed
and
people.
right now, you guys have had a moratorium on unrestricted permits for well over 10 years.
Hold on. This is Consumer Affairs?
This is
The
Department of Health.
Department of Health. You do food buses.
And what I found is that I've met with the Department of Health, and it's a big department.
Wait, we're going to make your life better.
Okay.
Would you like your life to be better?
I would love the lives of all of us to be better.
I was like, good answer. That was a very good answer. Very good, very good, very good. Okay, now, it's a big department. It's a very big department, and it has a commissioner who's in charge of it.
Awesome.
Dr. Mary Bassett, our health
Nice to meet
commissioner.
you.
So you will meet directly with her,
Right.
right? You'll talk.
Mobile food vending, yes.
So meet directly with her starting after this.
Right.
And given the fact that what you are doing is trying to provide food to people, let's see if we
And
can
I know
find...
there was a question, but I'd actually very quickly like to put out this proposal. I'd like for you to think this over. I think I'm a brilliant person here. What I'd like for you to think about is that even if we are not going to lift the moratorium, what we can do is possibly think about creating a new permit, because there's an opportunity for small business owners here, and we could be fast-tracking permits for people who are looking at doing mobile vending in communities that do not have access to food because we need them.
So I don't know whether you're talking about produce, but you probably know that there is a category of mobile food vending called green carts.
Green carts is not acceptable for this, because
anyway,
as soon as I cut a mango and put it in a clamshell, it's a process.
All right. So
I've done my research here.
Hold
We
on,
can talk.
hold on. So what I would like, in a positive spirit of achievement, I really appreciate what you're trying to do. This is the right person to talk to. I think the notion is, I think it's a very good point, separate from how we approach other permitting, if we're talking about a place that doesn't have an appropriate supply of the right kind of food, that's maybe a different reality, which is what the green cards are going at. Maybe we need to stretch that idea further. So you'll work on the specific case, but it also may suggest a bigger policy we want to think about. So you will come back and tell me what you think. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. I'm going to go to this side of the room right here because we've been missing. So I'm going to go to that young lady right there, please.
I like that. Hold on.
Hi, good night, everybody. My name is Dariela Rodriguez. I'm also part of Youth Ministries for Peace and Justice. Standing very proud of my young people here tonight. And one of our questions is, there's currently a lot of inequity in the South Bronx when it comes to garbage and garbage being handled. 30% of New York City's garbage is being handled in the Bronx, and we want to know how is that being addressed, and how will we change that inequity that's happening here?
Thank you very, very much for that question. So for a long time, going back now over a decade, I've supported the vision of each borough taking more responsibility for its own garbage and not creating a situation of environmental racism where some communities took the burden. A number of changes are going on. I want to commend our sanitation commissioner because she's been very aggressive and is in the process of changing a number of the rules of how this is done and fulfilling the vision of building the waste transfer stations for each borough, et cetera. So I'd like her to update you on that and on the new rules you're trying to achieve for the routes, and I think you will like what you hear.
Thank you for your question. Obviously, you know garbage. It's very complicated. So we've been very committed to fulfilling the vision of the Solid Waste Management Plan, which the mayor supported many years ago. We have completed construction of all the rail-based portions of the plan. So the one that is currently in the Bronx is active. We have also opened one of the four marine transfer stations, and we'll open another one next year and the final two the year after when they complete construction. So we remain fully committed to fulfilling those pieces of the plan. We also recently announced that the administration is very supportive of zoning commercial waste garbage trucks. So that will reduce truck traffic by, we think, 68%. And we are in the process of working with both local advocates as well as the business community, as well as bids and chambers of commerce, to make sure that we don't screw it up, basically, as we make this big change. In addition, we've been working very closely with the council to try and reduce the amount of capacity in overburdened communities. There's a lot of complications about the mechanism, but we are in active conversations with them and hopefully come to some resolution soon.
Thank you. Before I go to the next question in this room, I just want to acknowledge that we have Councilmember Vanessa Gibson in the house. Please give her a big round of applause. All right, so we're going to go to this side of the room. That gentleman there with the red shirt. Yes.
So thank you so much, Councilman Salamanca and Mayor de Blasio. We really appreciate you hosting this town hall here. And we also acknowledge the work that you have been doing in mental illness and housing development. My name is Jose Tulio Galvez. I am a PhD student at the New School University and in public and urban policy. So housing is something very important to me. I am also a resident of Hunts Point. And as you know, Hunts Point is an economically depressed community. According to the Hunts Points Alliance for Children, over 50% of children live in poverty and 29% of the families live in less than $15,000 a year. Our community board for many years, or our advisory board for many years, has been working arduously with hundreds of residents in the area to bring an initiative that would have revitalized Spofford. And that follows up with the question of the lady right here. Some of our initiative proposed that we created a 200,000 square feet of economic development, generating 2.5 thousand jobs that would stay locally by the 1,200 units of mixed income housing. Our vision was that young people like me and my peers here want to stay in the neighborhood, want to live in the neighborhood, and want to be part of that viable action. Our vision was also that we work with the locals that are already there together to make the neighborhood better, to bring economic streams for us so we can have jobs and opportunities in our area. So if nothing gets done and we continue to bring more affordable housing in the sense that we're not allowing for economic development and growth for our communities, then we are stopping the vision that we have as a shared
I want to interrupt you on purpose, because I'm not hearing the distinction you're making, and I want you to just help me understand. We obviously, you heard the previous answer. We believe that what we selected to start this process on the Spofford site, and you heard before, it is a beginning. It is going to go through a very extensive community process. It has to go back to the city council for a vote. The councilman's going to have a very big role in that. But the initial notion is 740 affordable apartments and open space for the community and 35% minority and women-owned business participation. That's a strong profile compared to obviously a lot of things happening around the city. 100% affordable and that many apartments is a very big deal. What, from your point of view, needs to be added to that?
So, sir, thank you so much. So our proposal included people from the community, local developers, mostly women, and people from different races, as you see here, brown and white. So brown and black and white. So as my question goes for you, how will you, Mr. Mayor, honor the concerns and aspirations of hundreds of people involved, and how will you use your position to combat the racial and gender bias in our city development? The development was given to a place in Rhode Island. We had a local team working on this. So how can you integrate us, and how can you make us part of the action?
So again, as I understand, and I want to get EDC back and make sure I get the facts right about the local partners that were involved. I don't know about the Rhode Island piece. I know, come on over, I know there were local organizations involved as well. So which were the local organizations involved in the proposal that was selected?
So there are many different partners involved with the project. In terms of local partners, it included the Point CDC, for instance. Urban Health Plan is another. Bronx Works is another organization. We also...
Excuse me.
I'm sorry. Can you...
The point is, we believe that that represents involvement. Everyone, excuse me, it's not debate club. I'm trying to answer the question. We believe there was serious local participation. Anything local means people are going to have different viewpoints. I respect everyone's viewpoints. But there's going to be different viewpoints there's different organizations that have different followings. This happens to be one version of local participation. But the point is, it is a beginning. And if there are specific additional things that people need to be in this project, that's what the process ahead allows for. So separate from the organizations involved, I'm asking, do you have something different about the composition of the project that you think we're missing? I'm asking you. No, we're not trading. I'm asking you because you asked the question before.
Yes, can you be more clear of your question?
I'm saying I have 740 apartments, all affordable, 100% affordable, and open space, and 35% minority and women-owned business participation. That is a very good plan compared to the vast majority of things I see around this city. Is there something missing besides who is doing the work, which I respect as a concern? Is there something missing structurally about this proposal?
Well, sir, what was posted in the Wall Street Journal and the different news today was that there was going to be a bank, there was going to be a grocery store, and a wellness center. What we were proposing was bringing in local businesses that would generate income for our local communities. And we were also proposing a mixed income housing where there was affordable housing, including Habitat for Humanity being partners of us.
Okay. So, yes, those goals are the same goals that are going to be delivered through the program and project we announced today. So the partners might be different, but we are on the same page that the project has to be one that delivers local benefits to local people and local groups. So the tenants are local Bronx-based tenants, whether it is Il Forno Bakery, Bascom Catering. The bank that is a prospective tenant is Spring Bank. They were the first bank to be headquartered in the South Bronx. We have an expansion of the Head Start facility. We have an expansion of urban health plan. As the mayor mentioned, there's a 35% MWE participation rate for the $300 million investment that is going to happen. We will have a very aggressive local targeted hiring program. And so I totally agree with you. And our intent here is for this to, because of the history of the site, to be the type of project not just that you can be proud of, that you can participate in. So I'd love to keep talking because the project has just started and we are very committed to making it even better.
So, Madam
All right, thank you very much. I'm sorry, we have to go on. What I can recommend is this is the beginning of the process. Now the community has the opportunity to give input. That's what the EULA process is all about. So you can either go to the community board, they'll have meetings, but there will be a public hearing on this. The opportunity for you to go line by line and put your input on that project, okay? I'm sorry, I have to move on here.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna move on over here. I'm gonna get 3 questions from this side, and then I'm gonna move over. I'm gonna start with this gentleman right here in front of me.
First of all, I want to thank you, Mayor, for being here, and Rafael Salamanca for doing this. We need to do this a little bit more often so that people can actually get answers. My question for you tonight would be, when are we going to restructure this work experience program along with these B2W programs that don't work? What I see find up happening for people that have to go to those programs, they're being recycled through those programs. They're getting short-term employment, being able to take little jobs that have low wages and not being able to support themselves, and they're back in those programs with no kind of outgoing. All the training programs that they have are not working. We used to have Manpower, we used to have CETA, we used to have Model Cities. Those programs trained, upon completion, they got jobs, and they were able to be self-sufficient.
You are preaching to the choir. Now, let me explain why, because the point you're making is very fair, and I want our SBS commissioner to join me. You will remember when Giuliani put the program in, which was clearly not based on trying to get people to actual skills and actual jobs. And we have tried to refine the approach in many, many ways. But the reason I'm calling up Greg, I'm calling you on purpose, is that things like WEP, don't worry, things like WEP are not the end point. And I want you to hear about what we're trying to do to change the entire approach to training to get people to actual sustainable jobs and higher paid jobs, because coming out of WEP is just a point along the way. There's something much bigger than that we're working on. But the point is, one, I hear you, but we don't think that is the end point, which is what used to be. It used to be go in, and you came back out, and you recycle the way you said it. We're trying to get people systematically into the training to actually get to a job, and he's in charge of that.
Good evening, everyone. So my name is Greg Bishop. I'm the Commissioner of the Department of Small Business Services. We run 19 Workforce One centers across the city. And what the mayor is alluding to is that under his leadership, we have changed the way the system works in terms of focus on quality jobs. So we're making investments in 6 areas, including healthcare, technology, industrial and manufacturing, construction, and we have a number of training programs attached to those sectors. So for example, on the technology side, we have met with the industry, we've found out what skill sets that they're looking for, and we've developed over 10 new programs in technology from security to web development. And those individuals graduating out of those programs are getting jobs at $40,000 and $50,000 a year. So that is what we're talking about in terms of the quality of the training programs that we are improving on. So certainly if there's anyone in here that is either looking for a job, in the Bronx we have over 3,000 job openings available. You can certainly contact me, or we have a Workforce One Center, actually an industrial center in the South Bronx, and we also just recently opened up a center in West Farms, and we have our main hub center in Fordham Road.
So that's what we want to get people to. That's what we want to get people to. Thank you for the question.
All right, awesome. So we're going to go right here to that gentleman right there.
Thank you. Thank you again, Mayor, for coming, and I hope we'll see you again soon.
Hold the mic close.
Oh, thank you. So, thank you again, and thank you, Mr. Salamanca, for arranging this arrangement for this evening. One of my main concerns here is I also live in Villa Maria House, the 114th development, and we've been fighting for many years to make sure that we receive the repairs that were necessary for the safety. As the gentleman asked, like there are 4 or 5 foot drops leaving the house. Like my father is not as spry as he once was, and it's a problem. Now, one of the main question here is, one of the things we've heard is that there's not necessarily always enough money in the budget for everything to be completed. What can your administration tell me that will be, there'll be enough put aside for completion of the work that needs to be done for all the scope?
Just let me make sure we're all speaking the same language here. Come on, don't be shy. Villa Maria, summer 2018?
Yes.
Okay. And in terms of what's in the budget, can you describe the improvements we're going to make there? Speak loudly.
This is Villa Maria again, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so most of the work that's happening is in the rear yards. We know that there's major drainage problems, and we know that there's been settling in a lot of the rear yards as well. So the work is really focused on that, but again, we're doing inspections and we're inspecting every house one by one, so that we talk to the tenants and understand exactly any other ramifications that have happened because of settling and drainage problems.
Go right to what repairs are we able to make with the budget we have by the summer of 2018? Just make it visual. What kind of changes are we going to make?
There are broken pipes and disconnected pipes in the rear yards that have created all the settlement and all of all the settlement that's happened in your rear yard. So we'll be repairing all of those pipes in the rear yard by 2018, as well as any problems that have happened to the individual houses resulting from those drainage problems. Okay. Is that clear?
Awesome. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So we're going to go on. This young lady's had her hand up this whole time. Yes.
Okay, sure.
Salamanca, you're doing a great job now. You really have my support. Welcome to Blasio. My question is, I am a truant officer for districts, all of the districts in the Bronx. I just want you to entertain the idea that we should bridge a gap with Department of Education, with the police department, because of the major, I know that this was one of your pet projects when you first started about truancy. You advocated a lot. When you decide to bring in the future any more outside consultants, can you bring to the table people that are actually doing the job in the Bronx or any of the other boroughs to sit down and put our input, because we're the ones that are in the streets doing the work? I do home visits. I bring the kids back to the schools. I like what you're doing with the counseling, that you want to have them following the students from one school to the next. Can you try to implement that with the truancy department also, with us?
That's interesting. Where'd Dorita go?
She went outside.
She went outside?
Yeah, she went
Well, that's different. Okay. What we will do, thank you, of course, and as you know, until just a couple of years ago, I was a public school parent myself, and we know attendance is the gateway to everything else. If kids are not there, they can't learn. If they are there, we keep them consistent in their attendance. That means everything we're doing for them can take hold. So I really want to thank you for the work you're doing. It's not easy, but it's very important. I want to make sure we consult with you. Hold on, we're getting a relief pitcher here. That I want to make sure, I think it's a very fair point if there are concerns from the people who do the work. Who handles truancy work and attendance work? Which deputy chancellor?
It's Elizabeth Rose.
Okay, so I want to make sure.
For attendance.
Okay, will you start at the end here, follow up? Tell me your first name again. Audrey.
Audrey De Jesus.
Will you follow up with
I will.
Audrey about her concerns?
Yes.
We should hear from the folks who do the truancy work as we're thinking
Absolutely.
about our design.
I will.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. We're going to move it along. I haven't hit this side of the room. I'm going to go to that young lady right there.
How are you? Good evening. I don't live in the area. I was born and raised in the Bronx. We do volunteer work in the parks here, and I don't have a question. I wanted to commend you for appointing Mitchell Silver as our commissioner and Iris Rodriguez as our borough commissioner. And thank you so much, Salamanca, as well, for all the planning that you guys do in parks. When I look at the Bronx River, I grew up here, it was an open sewer. We recently just did the groundbreaking for the 3 pedestrian bridges that are going to connect Concrete Plant Park to Starlight. So I know that everyone has a lot of concerns, but I do want to thank you for paying attention to our green spaces, our open spaces, and our waterways.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. We're going to go to that young, I haven't hit this side of the room. That young lady there raising her hand. Yes. It's right behind you.
Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening.
Blasio and Councilman Sacamano. My name is Nia Peoples, and Bronx County has the highest asthma rates in the country, and I myself have asthma. One of our students in the middle school, she has been hospitalized twice due to severe asthma attacks, and I want to know what steps or plans do you have or that you've taken to lower the rates of asthma in the Bronx?
Thank you very much for the question, and well done. I like your bow there. That was very nice. So I will start and then turn to our health commissioner. I only have mild asthma myself, but my wife had very severe asthma and actually was hospitalized when she was in her 20s and was in a very dire situation. So it's very personal for our family. And the number one thing I want to say to you is we have a plan to clean up the environment in New York City. We are very devoted. We're doing very stringent things to reduce the emissions in our atmosphere in this city by 80% by the year 2050. And to literally, we believe by the year 2030, we can have the cleanest air of any major city in America. And that is primarily by requiring buildings all over the city to retrofit, reduce their energy use, and a whole host of other things. We're going to have an all-electric city car fleet soon. Like every new city car is going to be electric, and a whole host of other things we can do. So there's a lot we can do to go to the root cause. But in terms of some of the here and now things we're doing to address asthma, I want our health commissioner to speak to that.
Sure. No, so there are 2 parts. First, thank you for that question, and you're right. The Bronx has very high asthma rates. So does East Harlem. There are 2 parts to asthma. One is the quality of the air and the presence of triggers of asthma attacks in the environment. And the other part is getting people good medical management of their asthma and ensuring that they get the right diagnosis, the right treatment, and that they have access to their medications. So the first part of it includes cleaning up the air, also cleaning up the indoor environment, and that's often by cleaning up indoor pests and mold. That we've been doing a lot of work with NYCHA, for example, on NYCHA for and what we call integrated pest management. That happens out in the community. Our main way of improving medical management is in the schools. We have a very large system of healthcare services. There's a nurse in every school that has 200 or more students, and one of their priorities is finding every kid with asthma and trying to make sure that they're well treated and that they have the medications they need in school and at home. So, that's a start. There are other parts to it. The other parts to it for adults is that they should get their health insurance. We know that there are a lot of people in this city who are eligible for health insurance who don't have it. And when you don't have health insurance, you can't get the kind of good continuous care. All young people, just about every single person under the age of 18 is eligible for health insurance regardless of income in our city.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So I'm going to go on this side of the room. Please, I'm going to ask so we can get everyone, if you can just be direct with your question. So we'll keep on. This young lady's been waiting for quite some time. And then I promise we'll get to as many people as here, and then we'll go over.
Whoa. All right. It's very hard to sit down so long. I want to thank you for coming. But Mayor de Blasio, I think we have a situation that you can resolve right here and right now. I could give you a wonderful history and let you know that because of the efforts of my group, we are the Nia Kiyumba Youth Development Program Incorporated. I live on Boynton and Watson Avenue, which is the drug supermarket for that district. With the help from your office, Crespo, Senator Diaz, Anna Palmer, we gave a block party this summer in which we engaged the disenfranchised street businessmen. And instead of them selling drugs, they actually put on costumes and were the Justice League and provided security for our event.
Okay.
My bottom line is that because of universal pre-K, the Giant Steps facility on Boynton Avenue is now empty and doing nothing. We have 5 teachers in our group and retired human service workers who are willing to volunteer their time and get those young men off the street permanently by teaching them and providing them with assistance to get their GEDs. What we need is for you to say, yes, we can use that NYCHA facility at 1057 Boynton Avenue with 3 classrooms and office space.
Okay, now wait. You are really good at what you do. Now,
An English teacher for 22 years.
you are. You have a teacher voice, too. You are very persuasive. Now, I'm not going to do what I regard as the unwise thing and say yes before I know what I'm talking about. But I will do something good. As I said, Michael Kelly is general manager for all of NYCHA citywide. So this is a NYCHA space, you're saying?
Yes.
NYCHA-owned space. Say the address again?
1057 Boynton Avenue.
1057. Okay.
And it was a Giant Step facility.
Okay, well, here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to do.
3 classrooms.
Here's what we're going to do. We're not going to guarantee something tonight. We're going to give you something good, though. Since he's in charge, he's going to come to you and look at the facility with you, and you'll provide your formal proposal. And if he says it's something we can do, then we'll make it happen. But I want him to see it with you, okay?
Thank you.
Make that decision.
All right.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. We're going to go to that young lady right there in the back with the B. Yeah, the B.
Hello, good evening. My name is Bramelda Cruz. I was born and raised in the area. My question to you, Mr. Mayor, would be, how can you help my community with employment, not forgetting our young youth?
Well, I want to say again, I'm going to get Greg to come over again. The whole effort we're taking, 2 things I'd say. One is to change the quality of our public schools so our young people come out of our public schools much, much more ready. That's pre-K, that's after school, that's all the teacher training we're doing, getting them reading earlier, all those things. That will take time, obviously, but that's really where we start to get young people ready to succeed better and earlier in their lives. But second, right now, as Greg said, there are thousands of jobs in the Bronx going unfilled. And it doesn't mean there isn't a huge economic problem facing us all, but at the same time, because the more that we've seen economic growth in the city, the more we're pushing it to every borough, not just Manhattan. There are jobs in the Bronx. Greg, through the Department of Small Business Services, can train people for free for those jobs. Obviously, they have to have the will to do it, and they have to have the ability depending on what field it is. But we will provide the training for free, and we will connect people to the jobs that are open. Do you have young people that you know that you can help connect? And I want you to see Greg after so we can start to get those young people on the path to a job.
As well as the possibilities of meeting employment in every level. How about our young men and women coming out of the system?
So we have, in addition to what the mayor said, one of the exciting things that we are doing here, we have partnered with the DOE and HRA, and we have just opened up a center at 901 East Tremont Avenue. This is a center that is focused on out-of-school, out-of-work youth. So at that center, individuals who need a GED can actually get contextualized GED training, and then they will be connected to our services to actually place them into a job based on the training that they've gotten. We also run Employment Works. It's a service for individuals who are formally acquainted with the criminal justice system. We have over 100 companies that are willing to work with individuals who are coming out of the system, and we provide them with the training that's necessary to actually get that job. It's a lot of hand-holding. We want to make sure that they're prepared to interview. We want to make sure that they actually are prepared to work in a work environment. We provide them even down to the Metro card to get to the interviews. So I can talk to you a little bit more about the services and how to connect to the people that come.
Commissioner, something that I would recommend, we have a Hunts Point workforce. And I would recommend that some of those services that you mentioned, you bring them over to our community, since we have a large amount of youth who are coming out of the prison systems and are having a hard time finding work or getting back to school and getting their GED. Yep. All right, thank you. I'm going to go over here. That gentleman right there in the corner has been waiting for quite some time.
Welcome to Community Board number 2. I'm the first vice chair of the board, and my board members that are here, I'm going to talk about a pet peeve that I have. Every time a land use application comes before our housing committee, we always put stipulations about how we want our community residents to be first considered for jobs. Not just the temporary jobs, but the janitorial jobs, custodial jobs, or management jobs. And time again, we put our stipulations on the application, but they go unheard. And it's a shame. Because right now we talk about what this young lady was talking about, jobs for our youth. We have tremendous amount of people that live in this community that have the skills to put up drywall, to do plumbing, to do electrical work. But every time they go to the workforce, they don't get the jobs. For some reason or another, the jobs get put out to New Jersey, Connecticut, Staten Island. And it's ridiculous when we have our workforce here.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, the simple way to say it is, you and I agree on this one, and we want, look, we cannot legally require a private company to hire locally, but we can make very clear, and we try and do this with a lot of the major developments we approve, that it is our philosophy that we hire local. Now, as I said, when we do contracts for minority and women-owned business, that also is one of the ways we guarantee local hiring. But I like when the developer makes the decision to hire local. We cannot force them to, but we prefer them to, and we make that very, very clear to them. And I am seeing more and more developments where that is happening. Certainly, everyone at HPD and EDC understands, one way or another, the goal is to ensure that there is a local hiring commitment as part of any development. And I think for some of the big, I know the councilman feels this too, for some of these big developments coming up, that you will see substantial local hiring. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're going to go to this side of the room. Go to that young lady right there. Yes, you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name
Thank
is
you.
Claire Harris, and I'm a homeowner. I'm a resident of the Longwood Historic District. My concern, and this is probably to be addressed to the sanitation commissioner, there is a terrible smell, worse than that, it's a stench that permeates our community when the garbage is being transported from one place to another. Apparently, it stops at the transfer station, or whatever it is called, on 156th Street. And this smell lasts for days on end. I would like to know why that barge, or whatever it is, has to stop there. I don't have to repeat the problems that we have with asthma and the other respiratory conditions in the area, but what can you do about that?
So is this the CSX rail yard?
Yes, it is.
Okay, hold on. We're getting another relief pitcher. Hold on. Our Commissioner for Department of Environmental Protection, Vincent Sapienza. Let's get him over too.
So we've looked at that issue. We transport the organic material from our wastewater treatment plants via that rail yard. We've had some complaints in the past. We've been working with our contractors to make sure that the loads are disinfected and sealed. If we're still getting complaints, I'm going to give you my card. You can call me directly, and we'll get that resolved.
Okay.
I'm going to take a step further than that. Commissioner's been very responsive to communities, which I appreciate. Commissioner, will you go out and meet with the good people on this block and see for yourself? So he's going to come pay you a visit so we can resolve it. But also describe what would fix the problem so people can hear it. Describe the kinds of things that fix it.
So what we need to make sure is that if that material is going to be sitting for more than a few hours in place, it needs to be disinfected in a sealed container. It just can't sit there because obviously the organic material, after a while, especially when the sun is beating down on the container, is going to be odorous. So we want to get that either moved or disinfected.
But why does it have to stop there?
Yeah, that's just part of the rail line. So our contractor picks it up from a wastewater treatment plant, brings it to the railhead, it's loaded, and it's supposed to can be addressed. And we've talked to our contractor. If he's not doing a good job, let me know, and I'll work with
Commissioner, I'm sorry. Your contractor is not doing a good job, and that is the problem. For years, this community has suffered from that water filtration plant that we have on Hunts Point. The community, when Mother's on the Move, we shut down NIAFCO. So I'm sorry, but that's not a good enough answer. We need you to grab that contractor, bring him to the table, so we can tell him he's not doing a good job, and if he's not, we need to find a new contractor.
So, hold on.
Okay.
Let us stipulate, my friends, that the contractor is not doing a good job. Okay. You have a way to enforce that. Okay. So all we need to do, and as you said, there's always complexities, but he's in charge of the agency. He therefore has the contractor over the barrel. Okay. He's going to come see for himself, walk the street with you, smell the same smell, and then he will know, and you can go check out the rail yard and all, and then if there need to have enforcement on them, we'll do that. We always have the option of going to another contractor if they don't fly right, correct? So we will send the sheriff over to you, the environmental sheriff over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. And Commissioner, I would like to be involved in that process as well, okay, please. All right, we're going to go to this gentleman right here. Just raise his hand. I'm going to go.
Good evening, everyone. Councilman, you're doing a phenomenal job. Mr. Mayor, I'm Reverend J. Lauren Russell. And I just wanted to ask one question that connects with all of this and probably affects everybody in this room with the construction, the new construction, which is great. Thank you, Mayor. We need more of that. With the environmental issue, with the sanitation issue. As we begin to grow and to build, you know what we have a lot of? Rats. And they come out when they dig up the earth. And so we need to have a way of dealing with that, because even though we're doing the internal things, externally, you can't stop that from taking place. So we need to have, from the sanitation department, we certainly need to have more waste paper baskets on residential streets. I'm the president
wait,
of the
I want to
Home
hold
Citizen.
up. You may be mixing 2 points. Hold on one sec.
Okay.
On the rat question,
The
which
rat question.
I am
First, the same
very
question.
sympathetic to this, as there is construction and other things that happen in a community.
Yeah.
It can lead to rats coming out and all. Now, we've tried some aggressive new strategies, and I want to make sure they're being applied in this community. Why don't you describe what we are doing?
Yeah, well, one of the things that we've been doing is actually going out into neighborhoods, walking the neighborhood, and looking for active rat signs.
Like the Rat
so not
Academy.
just waiting
Right.
for complaints, which often people who have a lot of rats get used to seeing them and don't complain about them. So we have been using what we call a rat reservoir approach. That's saying that the rat has a whole area that may involve buildings where construction's going on, parks, the rain catch basins, all of those may become harborage sites for rats, and we develop an integrated plan. We have several of these going on around the city, but I'm going to have to find out for you whether the area you're talking on about has that strategy. When we use this integrated approach, it means not just tackling one building, but tackling the whole neighborhood, tackling the garbage, making it rat-proof, baiting and getting rid of rat burrows. We see a dramatic decline in rat populations. So we can lower the number of rats in neighborhoods. It takes concerned citizens like yourself, and it takes support from rodent control experts. But I'm going to have to find out where specifically you're talking about. Let me get your information.
And I will do that, Mr. Mayor. But we are familiar. We've had the Rat Academy come in. We've done it in our community. We've done that.
It's called the Rat Academy.
The Rat Academy is really interesting.
It is.
But it's really good, too. But what I'm also saying is that I'm making mention of it because it's not just in my little environment, but because of the new construction.
Yeah.
Even though you're doing that, the rats will come because you're burrowing into their major areas. And so we've got to have a concerted effort to make sure that we are addressing that collectively, because if not, then they'll just go from one place to another.
That's exactly right. That's the whole concept that underlies our approach, that you can't just do it one little place at a time.
Right.
So Mei-Ling is standing right behind you. We're going to get your contact information. You know, it is not easy to control rodents. They have a way of sticking around.
Pretty smart, too.
But we can do much better. So, and we're committed to doing that.
Thank you.
And we've gotten a lot of new resources,
Yes,
Mr.
you have.
Mayor,
Yes, you
in order to do that.
All right.
Thank you very much. That gentleman right there with the mic, yes.
Thank you very much. Joseph Zepeda, a longtime resident of the Bronx. Grew up here in, Kelly, went to PS 60. Now I live in Boynton Lafayette apartments. And I've seen the change in the Bronx. When it was burning, even before it was burning, when it was good here, it was predominantly, Irish, Jewish, and Italian, and you had your little pockets of little denominations. But let me get to my question. I want to thank both of you for being here. This is awesome. The Bronx doesn't get this treat so much. I want to thank Rafael Salamanca for bringing Bill de Blasio. And it's awesome that you're taking the time to hear us out. And I just want to say, in the years that I've interacted with both of you, I've seen that you guys have really heard, even though you didn't acknowledge at the time that you heard me, but I see it. And I want to commend you and thank you for that. I am seeing some of the stuff that we were talking about. It's not to the degree that I would like, but you know what? I'll take it as it comes, and soon it gets better. Anyway, let me get to my question. Basically, you touched on it, Mr. de Blasio, Mayor. We need to make sure that we raise the pay scales for people so they can afford the rent. Back in the day, it used to be 1/4 of what you used to make was your rent. Now it's out of control. So we need to go back to some sort of system that can rectify some of this bleeding. The other thing I want to commend Rafael Salamanca, which he's doing, is doing some of the training that he's doing in my community, which, I'm blown away by that, and I thank you, and I want to see more of that. I want to see it for teens, but I also want to see it for middle-aged people and maybe some seniors, because they can't make ends meet right now. And some of them have to go out and work. So we have to get more training in there, in these communities, that can cater to the people there and get it going.
Okay, so let me say that the point, I think, wraps around it all, and thank you very much for your reminder of the history. But this is what we think makes a big difference. It is the training so people can get to higher wage jobs, and it's also everything we're trying to do to support five-borough economy. So we want film and TV industry in the Bronx. We want the technology industry in the Bronx. We want all of the growth industries to be here. We mentioned earlier that we're doing things like starting the citywide ferry service, which is going to connect Soundview to the whole city by ferry. There's things we're going to do to make it more opportune for businesses to locate here, and then attach people to the training so they can work in those new parts of our economy. That's the vision we have.
All right, awesome. So we're going to move on to this side. Guys, it is 9:30. We have to be out by 10. If you can be direct with your question. I'm going to go to you right now. Okay, give her the mic. And then, no, I'm sorry. I got it.
Come on.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I've been sitting so long. My name is Paulette New. I'm the tenant leader of Bronx Park Phase 1 in the Bronx.
At where, please?
Bronx Park Phase 1 in the Bronx. The HUD approved a $70 million renovation. They destroyed everybody's apartments. We have poor heating. The heaters don't work. Refrigerators don't work. Stoves are falling apart. Elevators are out of service. But what I want to know is who's accountable for this kind of money? $70 million went into our complex, and I'm quite sure that $70 million did not go into these apartments. Per apartment, my grant for $70 million, one apartment was for $47,313 per unit to upgrade.
Okay, so
they only
you don't
spent
know?
roughly
All right.
$3,000 on our apartment. So you imagine what they put in there.
Okay, so do you know this development?
This is a HUD-sponsored development.
This is
Excuse
Deputy
me?
Commissioner of HPD.
Right, this is HUD-sponsored.
Right.
I'm actually meeting with HUD tomorrow, so let me get your information. And
Okay,
raise this
can I
issue with
speak to
them.
you? Okay, I can
so
give you all my information.
but say the name one more time. I want to make sure.
My name?
No, the name of the development.
Bronx Park.
Bronx Park Phase 1.
Does that
$70 million.
Is that Mitchell Lama? What is that?
No, it's a HUD subsidized. It's an estate. This is HUD subsidized.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is a very particular kind of development, not that common in the scheme of things, right? Okay. But the HUD subsidized is the piece that makes it interesting. So we're going to find out, because this one's not typical for us. Deputy Commissioner will follow up with you personally to find out who was supposed to be monitoring the use of that money and what can be done about it now. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Please pass the mic here to this young lady in the red. Please directly with your question.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
Thank you.
Hi, Mr. Blasio.
Hey,
I've been dying to meet you.
what a pleasure to meet you.
I'm from this community. I lived here many, many years. I'm not worried right now because Mr. Salamanca is doing what he got to do. But I have soccer at Ferry Point Park, and I'm angry, very angry. First, I want a menu for my new soccer field that you just put there. Thank you. But I'm angry because we don't have no bathrooms for many, many years. The children, the females, the adults, everyone is peeing corners, bushes. It's horrible. In the summertime, when we go out there, we don't have park enforcement. If something happens, we have no help. And we call for an ambulance, a player gets hurt on the soccer field, we're sitting there an hour waiting for an ambulance to come. We don't have enough police force.
Let me see if anyone's here from Parks, first of all. They should be. Come on over. Of course, you're here. Yes, yes, yes. The borough director's here. Now, I'm going to ask you a question as you come over. So, I don't remember. I remember we talked about this at one meeting. I don't remember if there's a plan for the long term. So first the question is, do we have a plan for the long term to rectify this problem?
The soccer field in Ferry Point Park is being developed right now as we speak.
In terms of the comfort.
The comfort station is in construction right now at Ferry Point West.
Okay, when will it be ready?
It should be ready next year.
Okay, and in the meantime, do we have anything portable we can put in
Yes, there are portable bathrooms there that also the leagues have been putting in there. So if they're not, then
Okay,
I will
so
check.
where
I
are
will
you
look into
specifically?
that.
We're going to have her follow up.
The first soccer field, there is no bathroom. That's
Okay.
one of the
We're
most
here to
beautiful
fix it.
parks.
Here's the good news. We believe you.
Yes.
I know.
And we want to fix it, but just tell us where you see the problem specifically.
Excuse
Where do
me?
you specifically see the problem in the park?
Where I see the problem, the first soccer field with the urine,
Okay, first soccer field. Do you know this?
Absolutely.
Okay, you're going to
Yes.
follow up directly?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. So there is a plan to get a permanent comfort station in, and we'll do some stuff in the meantime temporarily.
the comfort station is there. They started to make it, and then I spoke to Larry Kuhn. Larry Kuhn told me the construction has been stopped.
No,
We
wait,
will not
wait.
have a
She-
bathroom until next year.
Hold on. This is the person in charge. She's telling you. What's the timeline?
The timeline is next year because it's a one-year contract, and we started the contract a few months ago in the summer in May. So it should be open by next spring.
Okay.
We don't have no
Okay,
water.
wait. We're not going back and forth. Follow up with her. She's
sure
got you.
will.
I
She's
will.
got you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Pass the mic to that young lady in the back there. She's been waiting for some time now. Or straight in the back, yes.
Hi, thank you. I'm with the Longwood Historic District over here, 117 Brownstones. And so my question is just a couple of, okay, sorry, I just have a couple of issues. One is we'd like to get a tree.
Wait a minute. We're doing one per person tonight. So
one?
give me your number one.
My number one issue, let's see.
Only one question, please, because we have to move on.
It's only one
Okay.
question. Each brownstone is supposed to have a tree in front of it, and we've had quite a few trees fall down. If we could get them replaced. that
Trees
would be
in
something.
front of your trees, right? Okay.
Careful what you ask for. Trees.
Come on over. Say exactly where. I'm sorry. Repeat exactly where. Okay. No, repeat the location.
Okay, so the locations would be Kelly, Dawson, 156th Street, some parts of Macy Place, Hewitt.
Okay. So you're saying that whole area is supposed to have trees in front of each home.
Every brownstone
Okay.
does.
So
Absolutely. We're always looking for locations to be able to plant trees, so I'll be more than delighted to be able to get those locations.
okay, follow up with her.
Wait,
Thank you.
wait. Just before we just go and start planting trees, I'm going to ask that you please speak to the homeowners where that tree's going to be planted, because not every homeowner wants a tree.
Will you help us do that?
Yes, I will. Please.
Thank you.
Yes,
So
I
where
know that.
homeowners want a tree, we got some trees. Where homeowners don't want a tree, we'll deal with that.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, I'm sorry. I will get to you guys. We're gonna go move along here. All right, we're gonna go to this side here. Question that young lady there has had her hand up. After her, we're gonna go to you, gentlemen. Then we're gonna go to you. Okay? Yes, you with the red phone. Wait for the mic. Elvin. Right there. Yeah.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, and welcome to the Bronx. My name is Ana Hernandez. I'm a proud parent advocate of Family for Excellence Schools. My question to you is, what are you doing about keeping the public schools safe? And please be honest, not just what I want to hear.
Oh, I'm honest. Don't you worry. Look, I'm very proud of what school safety has done. School safety has continued to drive down crime in our schools. It's been steadily dropping, 35% decrease in crime in our schools in 5 years. That's from the previous administration into mine, continuing. And we're going to drive it down further. There's obviously places where we have more work to do. But I feel very confident. We're doing more training for school safety officers. We are obviously, as you heard earlier, we're changing some of the approach with discipline, and we're finding it's having a very good effect, because we're getting our officers and our young people talking in a different way, and our teachers, everyone working together in a different way. But the facts are the facts. This crime in schools has been steadily going down, and we intend to drive it down more.
All right, awesome. We're going to, I promise we'll go to that gentleman there, then we're going to go here, and then I have to go to...
Sí, buenas noches a todos, Dios me lo bendiga. Hoy, esta noche, el sol del Bronx se viste de gala con la presencia del alcalde. Muy bonita presencia. La pregunta mía es corta. Yo estuve leyendo en el periódico que hay 17 estados que le van a bajar el presupuesto educacional, donde está Nueva York incluido. ¿Tiene usted algún plan preparado para enfrentar esa crisis que viene?
¿Le van a bajar qué, caballero? No entendí muy bien.
¿Ah?
¿Qué le van a bajar a los
El
17
presupuesto
estados?
de educación lo van a bajar en 17 estados.
Okay, all right. He's stating
Si él
that-
tiene algún plan preparado para
Right.
enfrentar esa crisis que viene
All right.
para nuestros hijos.
My understanding is he read that in the paper that there's 17 states that they're going to decrease the budget, the educational budget, and he wants to know what if New York, if you have heard of this, and what if so, what is the city of New York planning on doing?
I don't, for the city of New York, that's not true. We've been steadily increasing our education budget, and the state of New York has been as well. and the city gets a share of that money. So we've actually had steady increases in the amount of money we're spending on education.
Okay. Caballero, él dijo que eso no va a pasar aquí en la ciudad de Nueva York. Okay, gracias. Yes.
Hello.
Hi, Mayor Salamanca. My name is Martha Soto. I'm an ER nurse for the last 25 years.
Very impressive.
Impressive. I'm just out of work. I try to run here to make
Which hospital?
Mount Sinai West,
Excellent.
59th Street. My situation started 2 months ago. My child attends a public school here in the neighborhood. I decided to stay instead of taking my money elsewhere. What I found day one was a place of heat, discomfort. It was 112 degrees inside my child's school day one. And day two followed the same, the Friday. Unfortunately, my child's school has no air conditioning, and I don't understand how is it that at this day and age, a lot of these public schools still don't have air conditioning. I mean, how are our kids gonna learn? How are we gonna change the demographical problems that we have? The salaries, the poorest district in the nation, if these kids can't learn comfortably. It's absolutely so out of control. Day after day, they're sitting there with windows open, exposed to the environment. They can't hear. So let's say winter comes and the problem is over. In the spring, when testing time comes, these windows are open again, and our kids are subjected to possibly having worse test scores than the rest of the city because this area has all the schools without AC. So I want for your office, the DOE, and all these other systems and agencies to help the schools around here. Because I want my child to be 10 years from now in this forum, sitting over there, sitting over here, sitting over there. But how can he if my tax money can't even get him an air conditioning unit in his classroom?
All right, excellent question. So look, let me try and first tell you what I think is going on, and then I'll tell you what I will try and do. What's going on is we have a problem all over the city with air conditioning, and we also have a problem with overcrowding in a lot of districts. We have put a lot of our resources into building new school capacity, and that obviously it does come with air conditioning. Anytime we do something new, anytime we renovate, we put in air conditioning. So slowly, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it, slowly air conditioning is becoming more and more common throughout the school system. The challenge we have is we're spending vast amounts of money to try and keep up with the demand, because we have schools that are 150% of capacity, that are just totally crowded. We have to deal with that. Now, the question you're raising is a very powerful one to me, because the question becomes, where would the air conditioning help most? That's what I'm hearing you say. And what I can tell you is I will go back, because we're actually about to make some very important decisions that the council will be voting on. By January, we're going to set a plan in place for all of the spending we do for the next 10 years on anything physical. Schools, bridges, roads, everything. So because you made this point very effectively, I'm going to go back and ask about what we can do to emphasize air conditioning in the places where it might have the biggest impact. We do keep adding it in a lot of parts of the city, but I think what you're helping me to think about is, are there some focused places we could add air conditioning that would have a particularly good impact? I understand. And again, this is where I like to be reasonable with people, because people are smart. Your taxes, our taxes, cannot air conditioning over all our schools quickly. It's just that's not going to happen with all the other things we got. But I think that's exactly right. The question is, where is our plan, where is our vision for air conditioning, particularly in the schools where it might have the biggest impact in terms of helping kids with their education. So you have raised a very powerful point. I will take personal responsibility for figuring that out, and the councilman, I'm sure, will support us when the time comes to bring it over to the City Council.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's go to the sister there, yes.
Thank you, Mayor.
I'm sorry, sister. Before you go, just want to recognize you. They have over 100-year-old monastery
Wonderful.
in Hunts Point. Beautiful.
Wow.
Right next to Spofford.
Excellent.
Directly next to Spofford, yes.
Thank you, Mayor de Blasio, for being here with us, and Congressman Raphael. Our concern is that in our neighborhood, there are many trucks that park there all night,
Yes.
and it's affecting all of us, our health, all the youth, the children, the adults. We suffer from asthma and allergies, and would you be able to have these trucks not park their cars in the neighborhood all night, or have signs where they can, that they wouldn't be allowed to be in our area?
Let me ask.
Can I
Yes,
help out with
please.
this? This is a sanitation question. The issue that we have here is that we have the sanitation question. So we have multiple transfer waste stations in Hunts Point, and apparently certain transfer stations are allowed to park their. This is a sanitation and DEP question, actually. These transfer waste stations are allowed to park their trailers in certain areas in Hunts Point. Well, that's what one of the sanitation owners told me. And so what we're having is that we're having these trailers are parking in front of the monastery there overnight. They may be empty, but they smell because there's been garbage there all day. And what that is doing is that because it is dark there, we have issues with prostitution there as well. So what we want to know is how can we get more enforcement to get rid of these trailers that are parked there?
We can have enforcement there tomorrow. We can have them on the overnight, and we can keep ticketing them until they stop coming.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
So the issue is that the ticket seems to be a cost of doing business. What we want is these trailers to be towed out of Hunts Point, or where they're parking where they should not be parking.
Which precinct?
This is the 4-1 precinct.
4-1? Okay. You're familiar with this reality? Okay. Why don't we talk about, between the two of you, your enforcement options?
Hi, how are you? Captain Louis DeSegli, Commanding Officer of the 41st Precinct. I am familiar with the area. We have conducted enforcement there. I think you and I should talk, and we could definitely step it up, and between the two of us, we can solve this problem.
Okay, so will you visit with the sisters and come up with a plan?
Absolutely.
You'll have a visit from a nice gentleman.
Awesome. All right, we're going to move along here. I promise, please give the mic to Mr. Pasquale here. So after Pasquale, we're going to do 3 more questions because we have to wrap this up, okay?
Yeah, good evening. My concern is, as a homeowner, and a lot of homeowners, we're getting higher bills with the water bill, sewer bill. It's getting higher. And my concern is, we're paying these bills, but why are we sending it to another state, New Jersey, to pay these bills when this is New York City?
In terms of why are they processed in another state, I will find out an answer. I don't know that. But I can tell you this much in terms of what we're trying to do to reduce the water bills. I'm a homeowner myself, and I get the same kind of water bills. We, as you may know, for a long time, the city used to take extra money off the water bills and put it into the general treasury. We ended that practice earlier this year, again working with the city council. Now, the problem is we were sued by the landlord organization, and they blocked us from giving money back to homeowners. And this is something where homeowners need to make their voices heard, because we need to convince a court to allow us to give money back to homeowners and reduce the water bills. As for the billing issue, do you happen to know this?
Yeah, so what we do is when you pay your bill, it gets processed by a bank, and DEP looks for the cheapest bank, so we competitively bid which bank gets that job, and a company in New Jersey, a bank in New Jersey, won this past bid.
All right, awesome. Please, this gentleman right here. We got a few more.
My name is Kelvin Santillan, and we work at Casita Maria. We'd like to thank Rafael Salamanca for all of his support. And our question is, what's your plan to build funding for after-school programs?
Excellent question. Okay, so what I have and what I don't have. What I have right now is I'm very proud of the fact that we, as you know, after school was cut back for a long time. We restored those cuts and we went a lot farther. So now, it is a universal right for every middle school child to have after school. Every single 6th, 7th, 8th grade child for free now gets after school in this city. All they have to do is sign up. And right now it's about 115,000 kids are getting it. It's almost double what it was just 3 years ago. And we made the decision that we wanted to focus on the middle school level because we thought it was the point of real transition and vulnerability for young people. That was the most valuable time for after school. We do not yet have a universal plan for the elementary school level or the high school level. A lot of schools, as you know, have found their own way and nonprofit organizations to provide them. So we're going to look for ways to keep expanding, but the one thing that we wanted to at least guarantee was for the middle school level, everyone knew, every neighborhood they get it. And the problem we're having is a lot of young people, a lot of families don't even know they have a right to it for free. So we keep trying to promote it every week, and we'd appreciate your help in that. Because we know there's thousands and thousands of more kids who could benefit. And we would happily spend the money to give them after school because it's already been planned on. We need to get the word to them. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. So we have 15 more minutes, guys. So if you can go directly to your question, we'll move forward. Okay, yes, this gentleman here, then we'll go to you.
Thank you, Councilman Solomon and Mayor. You've been doing a beautiful job. So have you.
Thank you.
I belong to a coalition of clergymen, legal providers, and New York Law School.
Oh, higher.
And we have a bill, a hearing of Intro 214 on September the 26th. We got 43 councilmen supporting this bill. Vanessa Gibson and Mark is the co-sponsor
Which
of
one? I don't know
Intro
this bill. What's it do?
214.
What does the
That's
bill do?
the right to counsel.
Oh, okay.
And we want to know, do you support this bill?
I've been abundantly clear that I believe this issue is being solved right now through the NYPD, that is the right way to solve it in a way that we can implement effectively right now without any legal vulnerability, without any slowing down. That's the way we're going to get it done. We fundamentally believe in the goals of the legislation, but we believe this is the right way to do it. And it's already happened. We've worked closely with the council, and it's being implemented as an administrative action in NYPD as we speak.
Awesome, thank you. I'm going to ask Pastor John. Mr. Mayor, so you know Pastor John runs Word of Life International Church, and he feeds over 12,000 people a month as part of his food pantry. He's important to us here in our council district.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, for coming. I just want to draw your attention to the issue of hunger in our community. We have almost half the population here living below poverty level, and very many of them depend on food pantries. It's a common scene in our community to find long lines. You find people having to wait on the line for 8 to 9 hours just to receive food. Now, those of us that are running emergency food programs in the community, we are small local-based churches. We do not have the capacity to store the food, and we do not have the funding to be able to provide enough food for the residents. I want to ask, is there any way you can help us to reduce the high rate of hunger in our community?
Thank you. Thank you for all you are doing. We've put a lot of resources into fighting hunger. We put a lot of resources into making sure that people who were eligible for food stamps get them, and overcoming some of the mistakes in the past that kept people from getting food stamps. But let me say, I don't know if anyone's here from HRA. Is there someone here from HRA? Okay, we will do a follow. You're HRA or DHS? You're all one family now. Okay. Will you follow up directly with the Reverend to make sure that if there's something specific we can do to support his actions, we do so? Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
To John, please straight, because I want to get more questions. Yes, to you. Quick.
Hello, I'm a homeowner over on Prospect Avenue. This has to do with crime. I've been living in my community for 26 years. We had a problem with gangs. We had problems with drug dealers. We had problems with graffiti and motorcycles. Captain Lewis came in, and we had a meeting at the precinct, and he said, don't worry about it. The gangs are gone. The drug dealers are gone. Children are playing in the street for the first time in 26 years. Captain Lewis, will you please stand up, please? So, this is Captain Lewis. And this is the most important thing is when they're taking down the graffiti, he had his team put in place. Not one officer was disrespected. Not one officer had to pull out his gun. Showing that we have the best captain that I have seen in 26 years.
Wow.
Thank you, Captain Bean.
Congratulations. All right.
So, Mr. Mayor, I have to go to one of our sponsors, Nos Quedamos. Ana Mendez, you've had your hand up.
Hi.
Hey.
Thank you for coming and for staying this long. I just had a concern about the affordable housing issue, and I think there's two things that many housing organizations in the Bronx have as a concern. One is there are many landlords who are using their apartments as scatter sites, and they're getting almost $3,000 a month for renting or offering it as a scatter site as opposed to offering that as a affordable apartment for someone. And also those landlords are on the list, Letitia James' list of worst landlords, and they're getting away with this. And then that's keeping people from the shelters from getting out of the shelters, and we have people raising their kids in the shelter. And another thing that we need to look at is the way that the area median income is calculated, because we can build housing, and if it's not housing the people who live in the Bronx, which, you know, a lot of people live on fixed income like SSI, SSD, then we won't be able to ever resolve the housing issue, at least not in the Bronx.
Well,
So
okay.
is there anything being done about the AMI?
Yes, but I think the spirit, thank you, excellent question, but the spirit of honesty has to pervade this discussion. I just described several times earlier the four big things we're doing: the protection of our NYCHA units, the anti-eviction legal services, the rent freeze that affected 2 million people for 2 years, and the affordable housing program to reach an additional 500,000 people. The problem is, again, the need is greater than that. And if I had the resources to guarantee you I could go farther, I'd be doing it right now. So I'm being real with people about how far I can reach. This crisis, as you know, came out of effectively nowhere a couple of decades ago and has become a huge, huge problem in this city. Yes, a lot of the affordable housing is for people who make 20-something or 30-something thousand dollars. It's not enough. I'm the first to tell you that. But I also want to remind you there's a lot of people in this city who are just as much New Yorkers, who have been just as much a part of our neighborhoods and protecting our neighborhoods, who, again, maybe is a school teacher, maybe is a police officer. They need affordable housing too. So we have all the different levels. But it is not enough. We're doing everything we can. Now, the scatter site question, very powerful question. We're in a bit of a catch-22 right now. Cost of housing has created a dynamic where more and more people are losing their apartments. They go into the shelter system. We have to provide them short-term shelter while we're trying to fix the overall situation. Where we can stop them from ending up in shelter with a lawyer to stop the eviction or with a subsidy to keep them in their apartment, we far prefer to do that. And your organization, a lot of organizations, are partners in reaching people before they ever end up in shelter and keeping them in their apartment. That is by far the goal. But if people end up in shelter, we can't turn them away. We've got to find a way to support them. If they're eligible, if they meet all the requirements, we've got to get them a place. So the problem is, you talk about those scatter sites. We need apartments, and they're not the ones we want. They're unquestionably not the ones we want. We would much rather turn those into permanent housing. But we need an owner who's willing to sell it to us or sell it to a nonprofit to turn it into affordable housing, and a lot of the owners won't do it. And it's, again, as I often say, for better or for worse, it's a free enterprise system, and they have that right. So it's not a good dynamic, but our goal is, because we're building so much affordable housing, including an additional, not only the 200,000 that we're building and preserving to begin with, but an additional 15,000 apartments of supportive housing. That all is going to add up over time and allow us to turn the tide. And then we can get out of the scatter sites, for example, and get out of the hotels. But until we get some momentum, we're not going to be able to do that. That's the reality we face.
All right, thank
Okay,
you.
we got
Thank
one
you
at-
very much. So we're gonna go to this young lady. She's had her hand up. Please, straight to the point. We got like 5 minutes left.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor de Blasio, and thank you, Salamanca, for inviting me through Marcos. So I've known you since you were public advocate, okay? And my question to you is, okay, I live in Niger, and I live in James Monroe, and I serve on several boards. Not the Tenants Association. I've been there, done that. But I'm with DYCD, and I'm a strong fighter on things. I know that some of the centers, the children's centers, have been closed, okay, which is no good. You got to go through all this rigmarole just to get a center opened, okay, just to utilize it, because some of the children that are in certain developments don't want to go to another development because of disagreements that they don't like them. You know, it's like a jealousy thing. You can't go on one turf.
Give me an example of something you want us to fix.
I want my center, which is James Monroe Center, which my assembly, which my councilwoman Annabelle Palmer designated money for, and Marcos Crespo also designated money for, to be open. Now, tomorrow night we're supposed to have we're going to have an event, thanks to PSA 8, which the captain is in here, could verify. You know, just to have a safety Halloween movie night for the children. You got to go through all this stuff. Meanwhile, they're closing centers on us
Okay, hold
where
on.
our children have nothing to
Okay. I'm going to the question part. You
Okay.
want to know if you can get the one in Monroe open. What do we know? Do you know about it?
No, but I will follow up with you right now, and then
Okay.
and I'll actually, as I did before,
So-
come visit you.
Okay, so this is the man in charge.
Okay.
We're going to look directly, because obviously I think anyone who knows me knows I'm a big believer in youth programs.
Yeah,
and
I know
we've
you are.
invested a huge amount in youth programs. Not every place is the same, so it has to be looked at individually. But you will go and take a look at this yourself.
Yes, I will.
And you're going to respond to this fine activist.
Right
All right.
All right, thank you. Thank you. One last question. This gentleman there, and we're done for the night. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councilman Salamanca. Also, members of service, thank you for being here tonight. And Councilwoman Vanessa Gibson, thank you for being here as well with your presence. Honorable Mayor de Blasio, I have a
What's
question
your
for you
name?
regarding 311. My name is Hammer Pascal, former veteran as well. I have a question regarding 311. It seems pretty antiquated to me right now as far as where it's at right now at this point.
As far as what?
As far as its status right now, as far as the accessibility 311, as far as calling in when it regards to housing complaints. It seems like the patterns are set up when there's complaints that are drawn in, mainly at nighttime, when scrupulous landlords take advantage of it, and they shut off the heat or provide no hot water. Is there anything in plan right now in place, maybe a subdivision, a subsector that can handle these type of calls, or maybe volunteer personnel tier that can handle these calls if you guys are inundated?
I respect the question as heartfelt, but I'm not sure I agree with the premise. And so Vito Mostachola is the Deputy Commissioner of HPD and runs the enforcement efforts when people are not getting heat and hot water, and has been very, very effective at going after bad landlords. So the question is, that's the first time I'm listening, and I believe your concern is heartfelt. I have not heard a complaint previously that 311 was not getting the calls dealt with effectively. So the question is, if you call in the middle of the night or whatever, how effective is a call to 311 to getting action? How quickly do you get action, et cetera?
Sure. So primarily for heat complaints?
Well, complaints in general.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So we triage the complaints based on severity of condition. So generally when we receive a complaint, it's automatically loaded into our database. Right? We start the process immediately by contacting the landlord, informing them of the complaint, but we're also reaching out to the tenant. In general, it's within hours that we do our first outreach. I've never heard that there's a problem after hours. And in fact, I have inspectors who work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So we do perform heat inspections at 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. So I would like to talk to you if there's a specific issue.
If there's a specific situation we want to know about, if there's one where it didn't work or one that needs attention now, you can follow up directly. Thank you very much.
All right, so I really want to thank everyone who stood here till 10 o'clock. with us. I want to thank the commissioners, want to thank NYPD, want to thank our staff. But please give our Mayor de Blasio a big round of applause. I want to get some her to meet the mayor. Sure. Is he going to go upstairs?